Chapter 544. Outside, the party was still going on, but obviously, everyone was no longer thinking about eating, drinking and having fun. Lu Jingli glanced at the women who were leaving one after another. They were all socialites who had come to get close to Lu Tingxiao, but now they all gave up. Brother, your move is really amazing. Not only did you get rid of all your rivals in love, but you also got rid of the women who coveted you. You won't have to worry about anything in the future. Lu Jingli looked at his brother with admiration. At this moment, Lu Jingli didn't realize that his brother had nothing to worry about, but he was going to be in big trouble soon. After Ningxi came out of the bathroom, she saw many people staring at her, and the first one who rushed over was Xiao Baozi. Xiao Baozi's face was obviously written, "My baby is angry. I want a hug. I want a super big hug. Only then can I heal my wounded heart." Auntie Xiaoxi actually kissed Papa, twice. Ningxi knew what the little fellow was thinking. She gave her 2 kisses and then walked toward Lu Tingxiao with the little fellow in her arms. As soon as Ningxi sat down, a waiter came over with a tray with 2 glasses of milk on it. Lu Tingxiao gave one to his son and the other to Ningxi. Then he leaned against the sofa casually, but his arm was on the back of the sofa behind Ningxi, looking very possessive. His whole aura was sending out such a message: private property, no hooking up. Not even looking. Sure enough, this move was very effective. Everyone immediately looked down, drank, chatted, and didn't dare to look anymore. The Great Demon King's move of kissing her in public could be said to have taken drastic measures to solve all the problems. Now, Ningxi was really much more peaceful. But it was inevitable that she was worried. "Hey, Lu Tingxiao, are you sure it's okay to let them misunderstand?" Lu Tingxiao nodded. "Well, don't worry. When you become my wife, the rumors will naturally disappear." Ningxi coughed. What the hell? If that day didn't come, wouldn't he be misunderstood as liking men for the rest of his life? Lu Jingli laughed. "Ha ha ha ha. Slow down, okay? I'm going to die from your stuffing." After a while, Xiao Baozi was a little sleepy. He usually went to bed at 9 or 10 at night and felt sleepier after drinking the milk. Lu Tingxiao looked at his son's sleepy face and reached out to hug him, wanting him to sleep more comfortably. However, the little girl didn't buy it at all. She climbed down with great disgust, and then clung to Ningxi's side. She put her little hands around Ningxi's neck and stared at her father warily, as if saying, "Don't you dare to separate me from Aunt Xiaoxi. I've seen through your scheme." Since Lu Tingxiao kissed Ningxi, the little fellow had been extremely vigilant, and even the father and son alliance began to waver. Lu Jingli, who was watching from the side, was gloating and almost burst out laughing. It was true that even a wise man would make a mistake. Even if his brother managed to settle everyone, he had forgotten about his own son. Ningxi felt sorry for Xiaobao, so she picked him up and said goodbye to Lu Jingli. "Second young master, enjoy yourselves. Xiaobao is sleepy, so I'll take him back to sleep. Xiao Baozi is growing, so he can't stay up late." Lu Jingli looked at Ningxi, who looked like a good wife and a loving mother, and was speechless. He really couldn't associate her with the person who had just gone out of control. Chapter 545. His son was sleepy and his wife wanted to bring him home. Naturally, Lu Tingxiao could not stay any longer. Ningxi carried Xiao Bao in her arms while Lu Tingxiao took off his maroon suit jacket and draped it over Ningxi's shoulders. Then, he put his arm around her shoulder and walked out together. TSK, this family of 3 is going home." Even though they had been warned by Lu Tingxiao, everyone could not help but look over. The more they looked, the more surprised they became. That Tang kid is such a playboy. He's so gentle when he's carrying Lu Tingxiao's son. The arrogance and sharpness between his brows are now like warm spring water. It's not aggressive at all. Instead, it softens everyone's heart. Oh no. Stop looking. It'll be terrible if he's turned gay. This is a scary person who can even turn Lu Tingxiao gay. The men who were secretly watching tried their best to calm down. They were full of vigilance while the girls' hearts had completely fallen. Even though they knew that he liked men, they still liked him very, very much. What should they do? The way he carries the child is even more charming. So gentle, Xiao Qiao was lying in her sister's arms. She was so sad that she almost fainted. Sob, sob, sob. I'm so sad. The two men I like the most in my life. They're actually together. I actually fell out of love twice in one night. Ah. Da Qiao said, that doesn't seem to be a problem. He really did fall out of love twice. Xiao Qiao clutched her chest and lamented, handsome men are so scarce and they're actually digesting it internally. Two of them are gone just like that. My heart hurts so much. Da Qiao could only comfort her. It's okay, there's still brother Jingli. Xiao Qiao sniffled and said angrily, no, Lu Jingli's too much of a playboy. He's not my type. I don't want him no matter how handsome he is. At that moment, Lu Jingli happened to pass by Xiao Qiao and almost fell when he heard that. Fuck. I'm a playboy. Fine, I'm a playboy. But is it as playboy as your brother Tang? Your brother Tang doesn't even let go of women after spending his money on men. You stupid girls. Lu Jingli sent the three of them to the door. They were already beaten black and blue, but he did not forget to help them. It's already so late. It's so troublesome to run around. Why don't you stay at my brother's place for the night? Sigh, he was simply too selfless. If there was an award for the best younger brother in the world, he would definitely win it. She thought about it. She also felt that it would be a bit troublesome if she had to bring little Bun all the way back to the apartment with his father right next door. That's fine, I don't have any problems. She said. After saying that, they walked towards the direction of the villa with Lu Tingxiao. When they were about to reach the main entrance, the sleepy little Bun in his arms looked at the familiar building in front of him. His expression changed, and he suddenly flipped out. The little fellow grabbed Ningxi's clothes and shook his head, unwilling to go in. No, no, no. Don't leave Aunt Xiaoxi. Clearly, little Bun thought that Ningxi was going to send him home. Ningxi had to comfort him softly. Baby, I won't abandon you. Aunt Xiaoxi will also live with you. Let's go together tomorrow morning and go back to Aunt Xiaoxi's place, okay? Little Bun was still in a daze from sleep. It was unknown if she had heard him or not. In any case, she kept shaking her head. She was so anxious that she was about to cry. She just didn't want to go in. It was as if she was about to enter some great demon's lair. She looked at Lu Tingxiao helplessly. What should we do? Lu Tingxiao sighed. It's okay. I'll send you back. Son. You can't betray me. At most, I won't kiss you in front of you anymore, okay? Chapter 546. The next morning. Lu Jingli was in the middle of a great dream of hugging a beautiful woman. Suddenly, with a bang sound, his door was pushed open. Fuck. Who was it? What the fuck? He slept naked. Were they going to rape him? Lu Jingli's first reaction was to cover himself with the blanket. Then, he saw a scene that was worse than a nightmare. His biological parents were standing in front of his bed. Their expressions were exactly the same as when he had poked a hornet's nest when he was playful and wanted to beat him up. Lu Jingli was shocked and immediately sobered up. Ah, Dad. Mom. It's so early in the morning. What are you two doing here? Brat. I'll beat you to death. Yang Rui hit him without hesitation. Lu Chongshan also whipped him with his walking stick. Lu Jingli hugged the blanket and rolled in a circle, dodging his parents' combined blows. Fuck. Dad, Mom. Don't be like this. Why did you hit me without saying anything? Oh, don't hit my face. Am I your biological son or not? Ah, don't pull my blanket. I'm not wearing any clothes. At least wait for me to put on some clothes first. I'll give you 2 minutes. Hurry up and come out. Yang Rui closed the door and angrily followed Lu Chongshan out to the living room to wait. Lu Jingli quickly put on his clothes and rolled his eyes. He immediately ran to the windowsill and opened the window. Only an idiot would go out obediently. The two of them had actually come to find trouble with him so early in the morning. This time, it boded ill rather than well. In the end, the older, the wiser. Lu Chongshan already knew that he would do this. Brat, I knew you were going to run. Come here. In the end, Lu Jingli still fell into their clutches. Lu Jingli sat on the sofa and scratched his head. he said with a bitter expression. Dad, Mom, what's going on? You actually dare to ask? What happened last night? Tell me yourself. Don't tell me you don't know. Lu Chongshan looked like a storm was brewing. Lu Jingli looked innocent. Last night. What happened last night? Didn't I just have a party last night? You're still playing dumb. Someone told me, that your brother kissed a man in front of everyone last night. This is really, really preposterous. Outrageous. Lu Chongshan slammed the table angrily. What the? That's it. I thought it was something important. What kind of attitude is that? This matter is not big enough. Lu Jingli felt even more innocent after being yelled at. Come on, Mom, Dad. It was my brother who kissed a man in public, not me. My brother lives next door. Why did you hit me instead of torturing him? I'm being wronged. Lu Chongshan's face darkened instantly. You dare to say that you didn't come up with this rotten idea for your brother? If I don't hit you, who else will I hit? You're the one I'm hitting. Lu Jingli was unhappy. Fuck. Why? Why am I the one who came up with the idea? This time, my brother was obviously self-taught. I was so scared that I peed my pants, okay? I'm a victim too. Seeing that Lu Jingli's expression did not seem to be fake, Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui hesitated. Lu Jingli took the opportunity to continue. Also, why are you so sure that it's fake? Maybe my brother really likes men. When Lu Chongshan heard that, he immediately flew into a rage. Bullshit. If you dare to spout nonsense again, I'll beat you to death. Your brother already has a child. How could he like men? Besides, he was so infatuated with that woman not long ago. This is clearly his scheme. Chapter 547. Hearing this, Lu Jingli calmed down. He raised his eyebrows and said, You can't say for sure. Anyway, I didn't come up with this idea, so I don't know anything. You guys know that my brother's sexual orientation wasn't certain in the past. 5 years ago, I dug a hole for him and he almost cut off all ties with us. This time, he finally met Ningxi and she's a woman, but you guys tried to stop him and forced him to marry someone he doesn't like. The road of love is so bumpy. It's entirely possible for my brother to fall in love with another man because of some psychological trauma in the end, okay? Lu Jingli's words really frightened Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui. This was what they were most worried about, so even though they guessed that this was their son's scheme, they still came over anxiously to ask about it. Lu Chongshan's expression was extremely ugly. In the end, he looked at Lu Jingli and said, Help me tell your brother that he can marry that woman if he wants. Lu Jingli's eyes lit up when he heard this, but he quickly calmed down. His father must have something else to say. Sure enough, Lu Chongshan continued, as long as he agrees to a few conditions. What conditions? Firstly, and most importantly, let that woman retire from the entertainment industry. Secondly, hide her identity and we'll help her change to a suitable identity. Thirdly, before marrying into our family, hand her over to me and your mother to teach her some etiquette. Hearing this, Lu Jingli picked his ears and interrupted him. Dad, don't go through so much trouble. Let me ask my brother. I'll answer you on behalf of my brother. What are you trying to say? Lu Chongshan asked in a low voice. I want to say, Dad, you're too insincere. Why don't you just break up the lovebirds? Lu Chongshan's expression changed instantly. What do you mean? He had thought about it for an entire night before coming up with this idea. He would never accept that woman, but she had compromised for him in the end. He had even put in so much effort to give her the right to marry into the Lu family. Wasn't that enough sincerity? Lu Jingli sighed and said, Dad, let me put it this way. My brother likes a wolf, but you have to bring this wolf from the prairie to the zoo, put it in a cage, paint it with a layer of white paint, pull out its claws and teeth, and put on an iron collar. Then, give it to my brother and tell him, Here, this is your favorite wolf cub, take it. What do you think my brother will think? You're not doing this for my brother's good. You're destroying the person he loves with your own hand. Yang Rui frowned. Jing Li, your analogy isn't appropriate. We just want to make that girl more suitable to be Ting Xiao's wife and Xiaobao's mother. Okay, then let me use another analogy. Do you remember when I was young, I really liked a rabbit. After that, it fell sick and died. I was so upset that I didn't eat for a few days and nights. So, you brought an identical rabbit from outside to make me happy. Do you still remember my reaction at that time? Yang Rui frowned and nodded. You didn't want it, so I gave it away. Yes, even if it's exactly the same, I know that it's no longer the one I loved the most. Moreover, you've turned a wolf into a dog, even its species has changed. There are so many people suitable for my brother. What's the point of him and Xiaobao not liking it? Chapter 548. After arriving at the company in the afternoon, Lu Jingli reported to his brother that he had been besieged by his parents in the morning. Of course, he emphasized on how he had changed the situation. Although I talked with them for a long time, it's a very good sign. Mom and Dad didn't agree at all before, but this time at least they relented. Bro, I think this plan of yours can actually be followed up. If you do it a few more times, they might really agree to everything. Lu Jingli said with an expression of I'm really too smart. Lu Tingxiao glanced at his gleeful younger brother. He really couldn't bear to remind him that if his parents lost all hope in him, he wouldn't be the only son in the Lu family. When that time came, the one forced to get married would definitely be Lu Jingli, the second son. While the brothers were talking, there was a knock on the office door. It was Xiaobao, followed by Gong Shangze instead of Ning Shi. Lu Tingxiao frowned slightly. Where is Ning Shi? Gong Shangze didn't know what was going on. Every time he faced this man, he always felt nervous and answered nervously, President Lu, sister. She suddenly remembered that she had something urgent to do, so she didn't come up. She said that she would pick up Xiaobao in about 2 hours and asked me to inform you. Urgent. Lu Tingxiao casually glanced at the time on the calendar and immediately understood that today was Ning Shi's grandfather's birthday. She must have gone to the Ning family. Thinking of this, Lu Tingxiao's face slightly froze. He was a little worried about her going to the Ning family alone. However, since it was such a short time of 2 hours, she probably didn't intend to attend the birthday party. At most, she would say hello to the old master and come back. There shouldn't be any problem. At this time, Lu Jingli suddenly became energetic and looked Gong Shangze up and down. Hey, I haven't seen you for a few days. What happened? Who are you? Why do you seem to be familiar with 1111? Gong Shangze guessed that the person in front of him should be the boss of Shengshe Entertainment and Ning Shi's immediate boss, Lu Jingli. He answered his question very politely and carefully. Hello, I am. After Lu Jingli heard this, he went straight to his brother's side and said in a low voice, Damn, brother, you're too careless. You put such a little fresh meat beside sister-in-law and you didn't even guard against her. Aren't you afraid that she'll eat him when she's hungry one day? Lu Tingxiao glanced at the flustered Lu Jingli and replied, I have Xiaobao. Lu Jingli. Ha. His brother was really amazing. No wonder he could have brought Xiaobao back to the villa and let Ning Shi go to the villa whenever she wanted to see him. This way, they could have had a lot of opportunities to get along with each other. In the end, he actually sent his son to live with Ning Shi. This was clearly a top spy and a high-level love rival by Ning Shi's side. Xiaobao and Ning Shi must be very grateful to him for using his own son so thoroughly. Ning family courtyard. Today was the 70th birthday of Ning Jiyuan, the head of the Ning family. There was an endless stream of guests in front of the head's mansion. Because it was the 70th birthday and Ning's International had been developing very well under the leadership of his eldest son, Ning Yaohua, in the past 2 years, and they were about to become in-laws with the most powerful Su family in the capital by marriage, there were many guests this time. The servants and attendants were all so busy that their feet didn't even touch the ground. However, each and every one of them was beaming with joy. Their master's family had power and influence, so they also had a long face. No matter where they went, as long as they said they worked for the Ning family, who wouldn't be envious? Chapter 549. In the banquet hall, the guests and relatives were warmly congratulating the old man on his birthday and saying auspicious words. The most eye-catching tonight was undoubtedly Ning Yaohua's family, who was currently in power. The guests outside came one after another, each more powerful than the other. In addition to Ning Yaohua's business partners, there were also Ning Shueluo's close friends and powerful friends in the circle. A bunch of relatives of the Ning family were extremely jealous. For the sake of future benefits, they all went up to curry favor with them. Lingyu, you are so lucky. Your husband is so capable and your daughter is so capable. I envy you the most for having a good daughter. Not only is she getting more and more beautiful, but she is also getting more and more capable. Not only is she good at acting, but she can also open her own company. Exactly. The brand of her clothes is so popular that many ladies in the circle have been asking me if I can reserve one for them. Ning Shueluo was a little embarrassed by the compliments. Uncle and auntie, you are too polite. It's just a small quarrel. Not only is she talented, but she also has a good temper. Look at how modest she is, unlike my daughter who only knows how to make trouble for me all day. Mrs. Ning, how on earth did you raise such an excellent daughter? Please teach us. A group of people asked Zhuang Lingyu about raising a child. Zhuang Lingyu looked at her daughter, who she was proud of, and chuckled, I really have no experience in this aspect. Shueluo has never needed me to worry about her since she was a child. Oh, I am so jealous. Amidst the praises, someone muttered softly, speaking of which, I really don't know what your family's old man is thinking. He already has such a good granddaughter like Shueluo, but at that time he still insisted on adopting a little lass from the countryside and placed her under your name. Later on, so many preposterous things happened. Isn't this just looking for trouble for himself? At the mention of Ning Shi, Zhuang Lingyu's expression suddenly changed. She looked a little uncomfortable and said, Grandpa pitied her, so he did a good deed. As the younger generation, we naturally followed his wishes. Her words clearly made it clear that she had nothing to do with Ning Shi. No one in the circle knew that Ning Shi and Ning Shueluo had exchanged identities. Everyone thought that Ning Shi was just an adopted daughter of the Ning family from the countryside. When Grandpa Ning took Ning Shi back, he must have been ready to announce her identity. After all, she was his own flesh and blood. Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu agreed at that time. But later on, under Ning Shueluo's instigation, Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu became more and more dissatisfied with Ning Shi after Ning Shi drank the lemon water to wash her hands in public. Until the day when they were going to announce Ning Shi's identity, Ning Shi actually wore a fake dress. When she was discovered, they were humiliated. So, at that time, the two decisively changed their minds and didn't announce Ning Shi's identity. After that, they kept delaying this matter until 5 years ago, when Ning Shi did something that ruined the family's reputation. They completely gave up the idea of revealing her identity and secretly sent her abroad to fend for herself. You guys are really kind. You even spent so much effort to send her abroad to study. However, it's been 5 years. She should have graduated and come back, right? What was he doing now? Does he work at Ning's international group? A distant relative asked tentatively. Chapter 550. Ning Yaohua had 2 daughters, one was a real one and the other was a fake one. Ning Shueluo was of high status and had been betrothed to the Su family long ago. They definitely couldn't get close to her and didn't dare to have any ideas. Although Ning Shi was of low birth, she was an adopted daughter after all. If they could get married to her, they could at least get some benefits. After being reminded by the relative, many people began to ask about Ning Shi's current situation. I don't think so. I heard she was playing a small role in the crew. What? Playing a small role? Why didn't she go to work? Why did she do that? Maybe she saw Shue become a big star and wanted to try it herself. She's overestimating herself. Does she think that anyone can become a star? Lingyu, aren't you going to do something about it? Hearing these discussions, Zhuang Lingyu's originally radiant face immediately darkened. Ning Shueluo saw this and held Zhuang Lingyu's hand. She said considerately, Mom and Dad wanted sister to work in the company for a long time and arranged a position for her. But sister didn't want to. Uncle and auntie, you know that she's not her biological daughter after all. Mom and Dad can't be too harsh on her and can only respect her own wishes. When the people heard this, they immediately nodded to show their understanding. Sai, how can you blame Lingyu? Lingyu gave her good food and clothes and sent her abroad to give her the best education. It's enough, okay? Dragons give birth to dragons and phoenixes give birth to phoenixes. She came from the countryside and is so short-sighted. She can't be taught. How can she be compared to Shui Luo? That's right. Lingyu and Yaohua have done their best. Hearing these words, Zhuang Lingyu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Anyway, no one knew that the unbearable and embarrassing existence was her biological daughter. Her daughter, her pride, was only Shui Luo. With the excuse of being an adoptive mother, no matter how embarrassing Ning she was in the future, it had nothing to do with her. Outside the Ning family's gate. After Ning she arrived, she took a look from afar. If she wanted to enter from the gate, she needed an invitation card. She didn't inform anyone, let alone an invitation card. So, she thought for a while and finally made a call to her cousin Ning Tianxin. Sister Xin Tilda, the voice on the other end of the phone, was a little excited. 1111, where are you? I was just about to call you. Today is Grandpa's birthday. Are you coming back? Well, I'm already at the door. Can you come out and help me bring the gift to Grandpa? Ning, she asked. You've arrived. Even if you don't want to see anyone else, since you're already here, you should at least see your grandfather, right? Grandpa was talking to me about you last night. He asked me when you would come back. I even comforted him that you would definitely come back today, but Ning Tianxin didn't have the heart to continue. Hearing Ning Tianxin's words, Ning she was in a dilemma. In the end, Ning Tianxin sighed and said, how about this? You come to the back door, and I'll find a chance to take Grandpa there. You can wish him a happy birthday and give him the present in person. That's for the best. Thank you, Sister Xin. Ning she was extremely grateful. Ning she breathed a sigh of relief and walked towards the back door with the jade Buddha bracelet she bought for her grandfather last time. When she saw the white-haired old man being supported by Ning Tianxin, her eyes turned red. Chapter 551. 5 years might not be a long time for a young girl like her, but for an old man like Grandpa, it was a long time. Grandpa's hair had turned completely white, and his straight back had become hunched. He was trembling as he took out his glasses from his pocket, trying to see her clearly. The moment she saw Grandpa, Ning she's long-sealed memories suddenly surged up. In the winter of that year, she was still a naive girl. She came to a strange place alone and saw her biological parents and Ning Xueluo talking and laughing intimately. She secretly hid in the corner and cried because of homesickness. Later, Grandpa found her, took her hand, and went to the kitchen to cook a bowl of hot noodles for her. He told her not to cry, that this was her home. At that time, she was scolded by Zhuang Lingyu more and more flustered. She did everything she asked of her, so Grandpa took some time out of his busy schedule. When he came back at night, he called her to the study and taught her patiently over and over again. She never came back after she left the Ning family. Grandpa didn't know what happened at that time. He was not in good health, and Ning she was afraid that he would be upset, so she never told him about it. Grandpa once came to the country to find her and take her back, but she refused. She still remembered the disappointed look in his eyes. At this moment, Ning she actually didn't know how to face the old man. Ning Jiyuan probably still minded that she didn't want to go home, so he didn't look very good and kept a straight face. In the end, Ning Tianxin had no choice but to break the deadlock. She ran over, took Ning Shi's hand, and pulled her to Grandpa. Xiaoxi, what are you waiting for? Say something. Ning Tianxin reminded her helplessly. After all, Ning Shi was no longer a timid little girl. After a short moment of absent-mindedness, she quickly came to herself and immediately rushed over to give Grandpa a big hug. Grandpa, I missed you so much. Ning Jiyuan was a little dazed by his granddaughter's warm hug, and then he snorted. I didn't know you missed me. Did you miss me for so many years without coming back? Although his tone was still very bad, his expression had obviously softened. Ning, she giggled. Grandpa, I'm studying hard. Didn't you teach me that knowledge can change my fate? All these years, I have been diligently following your teachings and studying with all my might. You. Ning Jiyuan's face was filled with helplessness. His cloudy eyes scrutinized the girl in front of him, whom he could barely recognize. He muttered, "You've changed, you've changed." Not only her appearance, but also her personality and temperament. He had only seen her for a short time, but he discovered that the changes in his granddaughter over the years had surprised and delighted him. Ningxi tilted her head and asked deliberately, "What changed? Did I become prettier?" Grandpa Sheng was amused by her. "You've become prettier and more cheerful. That's good. It seems that the foreign environment is helpful to you." She was Ning Jiyuan's only consolation. All these years, the person he felt the most guilty about was this granddaughter. After chatting for a while, Ning Jiyuan suddenly got to the point. "Xiaoxi, Grandpa taught you to study hard, but did he also teach you to do the right thing at the right time? And you, Tianxin, listen to Grandpa's word. You too, at your age, the most important thing to do at this age is to find a good man to marry, and then have a big fat boy. I understand that you young people are busy. If you don't have time to take care of your children, Grandpa can take care of them for you, so you don't have to worry about them." Chapter 552. Ning Shi and Ning Tianxin looked at each other helplessly. Ning Tianxin wasn't good with words, so Ning Shi had to speak. "Grandpa, stop it. You can't be like this. We haven't seen each other for so many years, and you're rushing me to get married as soon as I come back. Do you know what the least adorable grandpa looks like? He's the grandpa who urges me to get married." Grandpa Ning glanced at her. "Then do you know what the least adorable granddaughter looks like? You're like this. You're always out, and you don't even let me have a grandson. I'm already 70 years old. How many years do I have left?" She was speechless. She was digging her own grave. Ning Jiyuan glanced in the direction of the banquet hall. Thinking of something, he looked at his two granddaughters and said earnestly, "You too, I didn't force you. I had no other choice but to do this. The Ning family doesn't even have a male grandson in your generation. Who are you going to hand over the family business? Do you want me to hand it over to Ning Xueluo, who isn't related to me by blood, and your second uncle's two illegitimate daughters?" Ning Shi and Ning Tianxin's expressions turned serious when they heard their grandpa's words. Ning Shi would never get married. She would never get married, let alone give birth to a grandson for her grandpa to inherit the Ning family business. Ning Tianxin already had someone in her heart, but they missed each other. After so many years, she couldn't accept anyone else, nor could she fulfill her grandpa's wish. Ning Tianxin's father, Ning Shi's second uncle, Ning Yarobang, originally wanted to force Ning Tianxin to get married so that she could give birth to an heir as soon as possible. However, Ning Tianxin, who looked weak, was too stubborn. She refused and even threatened to kill herself. Therefore, in the past 2 years, Ning Yarobang not only kept having children outside, but also urged his two illegitimate daughters to give birth to an heir as soon as possible. As for Ning Xueluo, even though she wasn't her biological daughter, they had already discussed it with the Su family. Ning Xueluo's first son would be surnamed Ning. Ning Yaohua and Ning Yarobang had been secretly competing against each other all these years. Ning Yaohua's biggest leverage was Ning Xueluo's influence and the Su family's marriage. Ning Yarobang's biggest leverage was that although he did not have any sons, his 3 daughters were his own. No matter who gave birth to a son, he would be the heir of the Ning family. Ning Shi and Ning Tianxin didn't know how to answer their grandpa. They couldn't say yes, but they didn't want to hurt him. At this moment, a familiar voice came from behind him. "Dad, a group of people is waiting for you inside. Why did you come to the backyard?" You. Ningxi. As Zhuang Lingyu spoke, she saw someone standing next to Ning Jiyuan and Ning Tianxin. Seeing that it was Ning Shi, Zhuang Lingyu's face changed and she snapped, "What are you doing here? There are so many guests at home today. What if you offend an important guest? Get out of here." Before Ning Shi could speak, Grandpa Sheng was the first to get angry. "How dare you? Xiaoxi is my granddaughter. Who allowed you to drive her away?" Zhuang Lingyu panicked and looked behind her. Dad, lower your voice. Lower my voice. Did I say something wrong? Isn't Xiaoxi your daughter?" Ning Jiyuan was even angrier when he saw her evasive look. Chapter 553. Being scolded, Zhuang Lingyu secretly glared at Ningxi and then explained to Ning Jiyuan in a soft voice, "Dad, I didn't mean that. You know, no one knows that 1111 is mine. I told you early in the morning to announce 1111's identity as soon as possible. 1111 was studying abroad before, but now she's back. Since everyone is here today, you tell everyone that 1111 is a member of the Ning family." Zhuang Lingyu looked horrified. "What? Dad, I can't do that. I won't agree." She looked as if Ningxi was some extremely terrible and disgusting poisonous snake or beast. In the past, when Ningxi had just returned to China, she would have been heartbroken to see her biological mother like this, but fortunately, her last hope for them had long disappeared. Ning Tianxin didn't know Ningxi's psychological changes over the years and held her hand with distress. Feeling the delicate and soft touch in her palm, Ningxi's heart warmed and she smiled at Ning Tianxin. That smile was as gentle and bright as the sun, breathtakingly beautiful. This reaction was completely unexpected to Ning Tianxin and she froze for a moment. Ning Jiyuan and Zhuang Lingyu didn't talk for long and several people came up behind them. They were Ning Yaohua, Ning Xueluo, Ning Yarobang, and his two illegitimate daughters. Except for Ning Yarobang's wife who had a tense relationship with him recently, all the members of the Ning family were here. "What's wrong? Why are you quarreling?" Ning Yaohua asked with a frown. As soon as he saw Ningxi, his face immediately darkened. "Why are you here?" He was wondering why his wife quarreled with his father. Sure enough, every time this girl appeared, something bad would happen. Seeing her husband, Zhuang Lingyu immediately went up to him nervously and said hurriedly, "Yaohua, please stop them. Dad is going to announce 1111's identity today." Ning Yaohua was shocked. "How can you do that? Dad, are you muddle-headed? Damn it, did this girl say something to you?" Ning Yaohua's eyes shot at Ningxi like a sharp arrow. Ning Jiyuan hit his crutch hard. "Don't slander Xiaoxi. This is my idea. Tell me, what's wrong with it?" "That's right. Why not? Isn't Ningxi your son?" Behind him, Ning Yarobang said leisurely. His sarcastic tone angered Ning Yaohua. "Shut up. This is none of your business." Ning Yaohua's arrogant attitude irritated Ning Yarobang. He immediately said with a gloomy face, "Big brother, I don't like what you said. I'm also a member of the Ning family. How can I have nothing to do with it? Damn it. It's just managing a company. What's so great about it? It's not like I'm getting shares." How dare he shout at him in front of so many people? However, who asked him to have a good daughter? Not only did he pull in so many resources for him, he even found himself a good son-in-law. Was it really as Master Long said, that Ning Xueluo was Ning Yaohua's lucky star? Damn it, Ning Yaohua was so lucky that he took the wrong daughter and brought back a gold ingot. Fortunately, his biological daughter was a good-for-nothing. He couldn't wait for Ningxi to come back and make Ning Yaohua a mess. 5 years ago, he really saw a lot of good things. Thinking about it made him excited. Chapter 554. Ning Yaohua ignored Ning Yarobang. His top priority was to appease Grandpa Ning. "Dad, it's not that I don't want to announce it. It's just that it's too hasty. At first, we told the public that she was an adopted daughter, but now she suddenly became our biological daughter. There must be a reasonable reason. If we don't handle it well, won't we become a laughingstock? Today is your birthday banquet. If something happens, it will be too embarrassing." Hasty, hasty. It's been 5 years. You didn't take this matter to heart at all. Why didn't I take it to heart? As soon as Xiaoxi came back, I asked her to arrange a job for her. I was going to let her integrate into the Ning family step by step, and then naturally announce her identity. It was she who insisted on going to the entertainment circle. Now she not only got herself involved in scandals, but also got Xueluo into trouble several times. In fact, he had never thought about revealing Ningxi's identity at all. The terrible scandal that Ningxi had sex with 2 male prostitutes and gave birth to a stillborn baby was like a time bomb hanging over his head all the time. If one day this matter was exposed, he could never let others know that Ningxi was his biological daughter. Ning Jiyuan didn't believe his son so easily this time. Find a job. Tell me, what kind of job did you arrange for Xiaoxi? New Singapore branch. You bastard, Xiaoxi has just come back, and you want to send her so far away again. What do you want Xiaoxi to do in that lousy company of more than 20 people? I'm letting her gain experience, aren't I? I can't just directly put her in the head office. Xiaoxi is my biological granddaughter. Why not? Xiaoxi, you go to the head office tomorrow, to the finance department. Behind him, Ning Xueluo, who had been silent for a long time, finally changed her face when she heard this. From the beginning, what she wanted most was to enter the head office of Ning's, but her identity was too special. If she entered the head office, it would be too easy to arouse suspicion, so she did the opposite. Even if Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu took the initiative to propose, she always declined, saying that she did not covet anything of the Ning family. In the end, Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu loved her even more, and even the old man had nothing to say to her. As for Ning Yarobang's two illegitimate daughters, Grandpa Su was annoyed. They were not a threat at all. Although Ning Tianxin was a legitimate child, she was so infatuated with a man that her mind was not at home. Therefore, Grandpa Su was not worried at all. When she married into the Su family and had enough capital, everything in the Ning family would be hers sooner or later. But now, everything that she had painstakingly built up for so many years was on the verge of collapse because of Ning Xi's sudden appearance. How could she tolerate it? Not only did Ning Yaohua, Zhuang Lingyu, and Ning Xueluo's expressions changed, even Ning Yarobang was furious. Dad, are you kidding me? She graduated from a diploma mill and had no work experience at all. How could they let her enter the finance department? If she wants to enter, it should be Tianxin, or Xiaoru and Xiao Ari can also do it. Second brother, don't be afraid that the wind will cut your tongue. It's true that Tianxin graduated from a university in the capital, but she majored in art, which has nothing to do with the finance department. What else can your two illegitimate daughters do except dress up? Are you trying to make trouble in the company by putting her in the finance department? Dad said last time that when Xueluo got married, he would let her enter the finance department. Chapter 555. Ning Yaohua wanted his daughter to join the company, but he wanted Ning Xue to join the company, not Ning Xi. For him, it was a disaster for Ning Xi to join the company. He didn't mind losing face at home, but if he lost face to the whole company, how could he face others? Furthermore, he had solemnly vowed to the Su family that in the future Xue Luo would be the one to inherit the family business. While they were quarreling, Zhuang Lingyu walked up to Ning Xi, pulled her hard, and gritted her teeth. Why are you still standing here? Hurry up and leave. The house was originally fine, but when you came, it became so noisy. Did you think that on a day like your grandfather's birthday, you would also make a fuss? Although Ning Xi looked indifferent, Ning Tianxin couldn't bear it anymore. Even though she was not good with words, she couldn't help saying, "Aunt, your words are biased. Xiaoxi just came to see Grandpa. In order not to disturb you, she even asked me to take Grandpa to the backyard to see him. She didn't say a word or do anything from beginning to end. How could it be her fault? She didn't do anything. It's enough that she just showed up here. Besides, we don't need an outsider like you to meddle in our affairs." At the same time, in the president's office of Lu's group. 2 hours had passed, but Ning Xi hadn't come back yet. Xiaobao was leaning against the window as usual, and even Lu Tingxiao began to look at his cell phone frequently. Lu Jingli looked at the father and son, as if he couldn't stand it anymore. Hey, can you two calm down? We haven't seen each other for only 2 hours, okay? Another 5 minutes passed, but she still didn't come back. Lu Tingxiao picked up his phone and dialed Ning Xi's number. However, no one answered. In the Ning's villa, the cell phone in Ning Xi's bag suddenly rang. She looked at the caller ID and found it was Lu Tingxiao. It had been more than 2 hours. He was probably asking her when she would go back. At this time, the Ning family was quarreling. It was not convenient for Ning Xi to answer the phone, so she walked up to her furious grandfather and said softly, "Grandpa, let's talk about other things another day. I just came to see you today. I have something urgent to do, so I have to go back. Happy birthday." What urgent matter? Why are you leaving so soon? When the old man heard this, he immediately became anxious. Don't mind these bastards. With Grandpa here, no one can chase you away. Ningxi gently stroked the old man's back, which was undulating because of excitement. Grandpa, I'm really busy recently. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come to see you in such a hurry. Xiaoxi, it's Grandpa's fault for making you feel wronged. Ning Jiyuan thought she was comforting him and that she was in a hurry to leave because Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu's attitudes were too sad, so he was immediately filled with guilt. Ning Xueluo knew it was going to be bad when she saw the old man's expression. Although Ning Yaohua was in charge of the Ning family, the shares were still firmly held in the hands of the old man. If he favored Ningxi, it would be troublesome. What she was most afraid of was the guilt the old man felt towards Ningxi. After all, Ningxi was his own flesh and blood. No matter how unbearable and dirty Ningxi was, she could destroy what she had been working for years with just a soft word. Just because of the damn bloodline? Just because she didn't have the blood of the Ning family, she had to work 1,000 times harder to get what Ningxi could easily get. Chapter 556. If Ningxi got the inheritance, what would happen to her? She couldn't bear the thought of going back to that remote village and living a poor life every day. Even if the Ning family didn't drive her away, she couldn't bear to be submissive to Ningxi in the future. She was the lady of the Ning family. She was born as the lady of the Ning family. Why did this bitch take everything away? Yes, she was the lady of the Ning family, the only lady of the Ning family. Even her bloodline couldn't change that. Ning Xueluo took a deep breath and calmed down. She walked over and took Ningxi's arm, her voice trembling and her face full of anxiety. Sister, don't go, okay? Please don't be angry with Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad have been arranging for your identity to be revealed, but you don't want to come back or come to the company. Blame me. It's all my fault. You can beat me or scold me. If you really don't want to see me, I'll leave now. But sister, please don't go. Even if you don't want to see us, think about Grandpa. Grandpa really misses you. You should at least have a piece of Grandpa's birthday cake before you go, right? No matter how urgent it is, it can't be more important than Grandpa's birthday. Ning Xueluo's words were so skillful. She blamed Ningxi for not revealing her identity and not entering the company. At the same time, she showed how hard it was for her to live in the Ning family because of her awkward identity. Most importantly, she showed her filial piety to Grandpa. Zhuang Lingyu was distressed. Xueluo, what are you talking about? Where are you going? It's not you who should go. Seeing Ning Xueluo trying to persuade Ningxi to stay, even Grandpa Ning's face eased a lot. He certainly wouldn't let Ning Xueluo go, but he tried to persuade Ningxi again. 1111, it's rare for you to come back. Stay a little longer. Ah! Looking at the old man's hopeful eyes, Ningxi was silent for a while and finally nodded. Okay. She definitely couldn't satisfy the old man about having a baby. She was destined to let down all the expectations and kindness of Grandpa. She couldn't be the lady of the Ning family, enter the company, or return to the Ning family. So at this moment, she couldn't bear to refuse such a simple request on his birthday. That's great, that's great. Come into the house. It's winter, and it's cold outside. Grandpa Ning's face brightened up. With the help of Ning Tianxin and Ning Shi, he happily entered the house. Ning Xueluo stood behind them alone, watching Ning Jiyuan being supported by Ning Tianxin and Ning Shi. A cold glint flashed in her eyes. Seeing that the old man was finally appeased, Zhuang Lingyu finally heaved a sigh of relief. With a face full of affection, she walked to Ning Xueluo and held her hand. Xueluo, you've been wronged. No matter what happened in the family, she was always so sensible and could always consider the big picture. Ning Yaohua also looked distressed. He sighed and said, Xueluo, don't take what he said to heart. Grandpa hasn't seen Xiaoxi for a long time, so he was a little excited and said those words casually. Now Dad has the final say in the company. Don't worry. Thank you, Mom, Dad. I understand. After comforting her grandpa, Ningxi took the time to reply to Lu Tingxiao, who had just called her. I'm going to stay with my grandpa for a while, so I may come back late. Take Xiaobao home first. I'll pick him up at the Platinum Palace later. In the office, Lu Tingxiao's face darkened when he saw this message. Lu Tingxiao knew very well that no matter how tough Ningxi looked, there was still a place that she couldn't touch, and that was the Ning family. He knew a little about what she had gone through when she was in the Ning family. Although Ningxi's message sounded easy, how could he let her be alone in that kind of place? Chapter 557. When Ningxi followed Grandpa Ning into the banquet hall, there was a lot of discussion in the hall. Who is the girl on the left of Grandpa Ning? Why did she come dressed like this? I heard Grandpa Ning call her Xiaoxi. Is she the adopted daughter from the countryside, Ningxi? Oh, it's her. It's been 5 years. Why is she still like this? She hasn't made any progress at all. She's really a good-for-nothing. Haha, 5 years ago, she still wore some branded replicas. Now she doesn't even have the basic taste. Today, Ningxi had brought Gong Shangzi and Xiao Bao to the furniture city to buy things to decorate the studio, so she dressed more casually and conveniently. She directly went out with jeans and a leather coat. Her long hair was tied into a ponytail and casually thrown behind her head, looking very neat. However, on such an occasion where all the ladies were wearing long dresses and high heels, she looked very out of place. Grandpa Ning was immersed in the joy of his granddaughter's return and didn't notice what Ningxi was wearing. He kept chatting with Ningxi until Zhuang Lingyu reminded him that there were many guests waiting. Then he asked Ning Tianxin to accompany Ningxi to eat something and he went to greet the guests. As soon as Grandpa Ning left, Zhuang Lingyu's face changed. She looked at Ningxi and said, "Look at what you're wearing. Don't you know what day it is?" Ning Xueluo tried to smooth things over. "Mom, don't blame her. She must have come in a hurry and didn't have time to change." With that, she walked up to Ningxi cautiously, fearing that Ningxi would be angry. "Sister, let me take you upstairs to change your clothes." "What are you waiting for? Go and change with Xueluo. Busy, 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 not doing a single proper thing. I don't know what you're busy with all day long." For Zhuang Lingyu, Ningxi was the shame of her life. She couldn't bear to look at her. If she was scolded by Zhuang Lingyu like this in the past, Ningxi would have been too ashamed to show her face. Now she just glanced at her lightly. "Oh, I won't embarrass you whether I change it or not. Isn't Mrs. Ning being too nosy?" Then she took Ning Tianxin's arm and walked to the dessert area. You. Zhuang Lingyu was furious. "Xueluo, look at her. Does she still care about me? No rules at all." Ning Xueluo was gloating in her heart, but she kept comforting Zhuang Lingyu and putting in a good word for Ningxi. However, the more she spoke for Ningxi, the more Zhuang Lingyu hated her. On the other side, Ningxi held Ning Tianxin's arm and found a place to sit down. Then she poured herself a glass of wine. She didn't feel like she had intruded into a place she shouldn't have. Instead, it was as if this was her backyard, and everything in front of her was just a funny show. Ning Tianxin looked at the lazy and casual girl in front of her and finally couldn't help but be amazed. "Xiaoxi, I haven't seen you for so many years, you've really changed a lot." Ningxi raised an eyebrow. "Really?" 5 years ago, when she was discovered wearing a fake dress, she was as helpless as if she was standing naked in front of everyone. Under the ridiculing words and contemptuous gazes, she felt that her whole world was about to collapse. But now, in comparison, it seemed that the changes were indeed quite big. Chapter 558. In fact, before she came here, Ningxi was a little nervous and repulsed at the thought of meeting so many people who used to be in the Ning family circle. After all, the shadow of the past was so deep that it still appeared in her nightmares. However, when she really appeared here, when she was faced with the mockery of those people, including her biological parents, and Ning Xueluo's usual hypocrisy, she did not feel the anxiety that she expected. She did not even feel angry or resentful. It turned out that time could really change a person. Before she realized it, she had already calmly faced the things that she once cared about the most. "Yes, you're not only beautiful, but also confident. Your eyes are very charming. How should I put it? There's an indescribable power in them. It even gives me the feeling of a phoenix rising from the ashes. Ning Tianxin said excitedly, and then she felt sorry for her. A person couldn't change for no reason. She didn't know what she had been through to become like this. 5 years ago, Ning Tianxin suddenly went abroad. She always felt it was strange, but she didn't want to ask. She chuckled and held her chin. Cousin, you're so artistic when you compliment me. I'm serious. Ning Tianxin said. She took a sip of wine and sighed. Alas, love leads to worry and love leads to fear. If you leave your lover, you won't have any worries or fears. Maybe it's because you don't care anymore, so you naturally become like this. You can be strong without desire. Hearing this, Ning Tianxin's face turned pale. Xiaoxi, don't be so stupid. Why do I feel like you're saying that everything is void? Ahem. She didn't expect that she would scare Ning Tianxin. She hurriedly comforted her. Sister Xin, I'm just joking. Don't be nervous. Sweat, she was currently fascinated by the beauty of the great demon king. How could she escape into emptiness? It would be great if she could really be emptiness. She chatted with Ning Tianxin in a relaxed manner. The people who were talking about Xi's outfit saw that Xi didn't seem to care at all, and gradually stopped talking because of boredom. Their main task today was to please Ning Yaohua and the old man, not to pay attention to an insignificant adopted daughter. As night fell, more and more guests arrived, and the banquet hall became even livelier. Because Ning Yaohua had just made the old man unhappy, he was trying to please him in all kinds of ways. He had people bring out the birthday gift that he had long prepared. The gift he prepared was an exquisitely crafted red coral screen with 8 treasures. It was expensive, and everyone praised Ning Yaohua for his good taste and filial piety. The old man took a look and only said some polite words. He didn't look too happy and was obviously still angry. Ning Xueluo gave her father a reassuring look, and then glanced at Xi imperceptibly. Then she walked up to Grandpa Ning with a hollow carved wooden box in her hand. Grandpa, I wish you a happy birthday. This is the birthday gift I picked for you. I hope you like it. Seeing this, Zhuang Lingyu immediately said, Dad, hurry up and open it. Xueluo's company recently earned some money, and she used her own money to buy it for you. I said I would buy it for her, but she insisted on buying it herself. She said that was the only way to show her sincerity. Grandpa Ning took a look at his granddaughter, took the box from her hand, and slowly opened it. After seeing the gift in the box, he was moved. Inside the box was a jade bead bracelet. Chapter 559. Ning Yaohua's gift was a waste of money, but Ning Xueluo's gift showed that she had put a lot of thought into it. She knew that he loved jade and that he loved Buddha, so she chose a bracelet made of jade beads for him. Ning Xueluo stood quietly in front of him while Ning Jiyuan looked at the bracelet carefully. Grandpa Ning's heart softened when he saw the uneasiness in her eyes. He had doted on Ning Xueluo since she was a child. Even when he found out that she wasn't his biological daughter, he had never mistreated her and treated her like his own granddaughter. He just couldn't stand the way his eldest son and daughter-in-law treated Ning Shi. Ning Jiyuan sighed deeply and softened his tone. Good girl, you're so considerate. I like this gift very much. Ning Xueluo looked relieved. Her eyes even turned red because of her grandpa's praise. She said excitedly, Grandpa, I'm glad you like it. Grandpa Ning felt sad when he saw the girl's true feelings. He couldn't bear to drag her down because of his son and daughter-in-law, so he said a few words of concern and encouragement. Career is important, but you have to take care of your health, especially a girl like you. Don't work too hard. Ning Xueluo nodded heavily and looked touched. I know, Grandpa. Seeing that their father's face had completely softened, Zhuang Lingyu and Ning Yaohua looked at each other and saw that Ning Xueluo's expression was full of pride. The relatives and guests also began to flatter Ning Xueluo. Wow, the quality of this bracelet is really good. It must be at least 2 or 3 million yuan, right? That's nothing. Xueluo's clothing brand, History, has made at least 10 million yuan this quarter. Plus, she's a superstar. Grandpa Ning, you're so lucky. Your children and grandchildren are so good. And so filial. In the corner, Ning Shi, who was chatting with Ning Tianxian, frowned when she saw Ning Shuiluo's gift for her grandpa. What a coincidence. Ning Shuiluo's gift was the same as hers, a bracelet made of jade beads. While she was wondering, she suddenly saw Ning Shuiluo secretly looking at her. Ning Shuiluo's eyes fell on the gift on the table. She clearly knew what she was going to give grandpa, so she deliberately chose the same one. Obviously, Ning Shuiluo's bracelet was at least 10 times more expensive than hers. She wanted to make a fool of herself in front of everyone. As expected, Ning Shuiluo secretly revealed a strange smile. She then obediently looked at the old man and said, "Grandpa, I heard that my sister also prepared a gift for you." Ning Shuiluo had an innocent expression on her face when she said that. It was as if she said it to make her grandfather happy. Now Ning Shi's identity had not been disclosed. She was just an adopted daughter. Even if she made a fool of herself, it had nothing to do with Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu. Not only that, but it could also make grandpa hate her. It was the best of both worlds. Ning Shuiluo and she, of grandpa of her, he looked at her happily. She Ning of she. And of she. Ning Tianxian looked at Ning Shuiluo and then at Ning Shi. She sensed that something was wrong. Xiaoxi, wait. Although she didn't know what Ning Shuiluo wanted to do, she knew very well that Ning Shuiluo wouldn't deliberately set Ning Shi up with her grandfather, nor would she suddenly give Ning Shi a chance to show her face on such an occasion. Chapter 560. Check your present. I suspect that Ning Shuiluo has done something to it. Ning Tianxian warned. There must be something fishy going on. Ning Shi chuckled and went close to Ning Tianxian. Cousin, you're so smart. There's definitely something wrong with the present, but I've always kept it with me. It wasn't tampered with. Then, Ning Tianxian was even more suspicious. I don't know how Ning Shuiluo found out what I gave grandfather. Her present is exactly the same as mine. Oh, of course, it must be much more expensive than mine. Ning Tianxian suddenly understood. Then, what should we do? Even if grandfather doesn't mind, we won't be able to stop people from gossiping. Xiaoxi, let me change something for you. It's okay. As long as grandfather doesn't mind, that's enough. Ning Shi took the present and walked up to the elder. Grandfather, happy birthday. Ning Tianxian was worried at first, but for some reason, she suddenly understood and calmed down. She was really confused. Firstly, Ning Shi did not want to be the daughter of the Ning family. Secondly, she did not want the Ning family's inheritance. No matter what people said, it would not affect her. What she needed to care about was her grandfather's attitude. As he watched his granddaughter finally return home, the elder was already very happy even if he did not see the present. He smiled and said, "Grandfather is already very happy that you're back. There's no need to prepare a present. It's not easy for you to work outside. No matter what, it's still sister's good intentions. Grandfather, quickly open it and take a look." Ning Shuiluo suppressed the urge in her eyes and said, Okay. The elder opened the gift box carefully. The moment he opened the box, the elder was obviously stunned, but very quickly, he returned to normal and looked lovingly at Ning Shi. They say that girls are very considerate. Looks like that's true. You thought of the same thing and gave grandfather what he likes. Ning Shuiluo's eyes turned cold when she heard this. Indeed, because it was a gift from his own granddaughter, he would like it even if it was of inferior quality, right? Everyone else saw what Ning Shi had given and was shocked. What a coincidence. She had given him the same thing. At this moment, Ning Shuiluo's close friends beside her started to speak. Ying Fanglin glanced at the string of jade beads with a look of disdain. That's not the same. Just now, Shuiluo's jade beads were of the highest quality. This one is simply a worthless scrap. How can it be the same? Jin Xianxian also spoke righteously. Ning Shi, weren't you just poached by Glory World Entertainment? He must have made a lot of money. Why did you buy such a defective product for your grandfather? In any case, this is your grandfather's 70th birthday. What kind of intentions do you have for giving me such a cheap gift? Don't you know that jade has spiritual energy? It can be used to nourish people, but it can also harm people. This last sentence could be said to be heart-wrenching. Suddenly, Ningxi became the target of public criticism. Don't say that. Maybe he really is doing very badly, someone said with a smile that was not a smile. If you can't afford it, then give something else. Why do you have to give something like jade? Ayo, you don't know. People from the countryside are all like this. They all like to pretend to know something when they don't. How would they know the taboos of jade? The more Ning Jiyuan listened to the discussions, the worse his expression became. He was very unhappy. Just as he was about to speak, a bespectacled old man in the crowd suddenly said in a serious tone, "Young friends, allow this old man to say something. The taboo of jade is not the value of the jade. In fact, the quality of a piece of jade can be measured by many standards. Even if it's a normal piece of jade, if it's nurtured properly, or if it's sculpted by a master or blessed by an eminent monk, it can be a priceless treasure." As the old man said this, he paused and stared at the string of jade beads that Ningxi had given to the elder. And this string can be said to be a priceless treasure. Chapter 561. WH. What? Priceless treasure? Are you kidding me? Ying Fanglin screamed in disbelief. Jin Xuanxuan's expression changed. She pulled her aside and said, "Don't talk nonsense. His elder she." "Which elder she?" Ying Fanglin froze. "The one from the Jade family, Shi Boi." Jin Xianxian reminded her. "Ah, it's him. But that's impossible. Last time when we were gossiping with Xue Luo and those female celebrities, they said that Ningxi bought a string of jade worth less than 150,000 yuan from Baoyu Pavilion as a birthday gift for the old man. Did I hear it wrong?" "No, that's what they said last time." "But elder she couldn't have seen it wrong. That's weird." Hearing Shi Boyi's words and Ying Fanglin's and Jin Xuanxuan's discussion, Ning Xue's expression changed slightly. But she was still calm. She knew that Ningxi's string of jade beads was worth 150,000 yuan at most. She couldn't be wrong about that. Although Shi Boyi was highly respected and had been in the jade business for his entire life, he might have made a mistake. In fact, there weren't many people who knew about jade. So when they saw Ningxi's string of jade beads, it was Ning Xue's close friends who were talking about it. The others only agreed when they saw how confident they were. Now that elder she actually came out to speak, and even said that it was a priceless treasure the moment he opened his mouth, everyone was puzzled and didn't know who to listen to. Even Ning Jiyuan was a little suspicious. Although he was just a hobbyist and didn't know as much as Shi Boyi, he still knew a little. Ningxi's jade was good, but it couldn't be priceless. Ning Jiyuan was puzzled. "Elder Shi, what do you mean? What priceless treasure?" Shi Boyi pondered for a moment and didn't dare to jump to a conclusion. He said hesitantly, "Jiyuan, can you let me take a closer look at your string of jade beads?" Ning Jiyuan had no choice but to give him the jade. Shi Boyi looked at it carefully for a long time. Finally, he took out a magnifying glass and stared at one of the beads. The more he looked, the more excited he became. "What did you discover?" Ning Jiyuan asked anxiously. The other onlookers were also very curious at this moment. They whispered to each other as they watched. Most of them did not believe that this jade was a priceless treasure. They thought that Shi Boyi must have made a mistake due to his old age. "Ningxi, are you sure there's nothing wrong with the jade?" Ning Tianxin was still worried that Ning Xueluo would tamper with it. Ningxi shrugged innocently. "I can only guarantee that there will be no problem after I buy it. It couldn't be that Bao Yuxian cheated her and gave her a jade with a problem, right? The shop assistant who served her seemed to be a nice person. Could he have been bribed by Su Yimo? Ningxi couldn't help but have some conspiracy theories. Finally, Shi Boyi finished reading. After he was done, he suddenly took off a jade bead bracelet from his hand, brought it to Ning Jiyuan, and asked, "Jiyuan, what do you think of this bracelet?" As soon as Ning Jiyuan saw the bracelet, his eyes turned red. He said angrily, "You old man, that's enough. Isn't it just a jade bead that your grandson gave you? You've shown it off 800 times, and it's still not enough." Chapter 562. Hearing Ning Jiyuan's words, The old fellows around him all joined in and teased him. Old she is not kind. He says it to everyone he meets. His grandson gave it to him. He asked Master Xian Jing to bless it for several months. We've heard so much about his filial piety. He knows that old Ning admires Master Xian Jing the most and has begged him many times, but he still shows off in front of him. Ha 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 ha. Today is old Ning's birthday. Don't provoke him anymore. Is it that rare to see Master Xian Jing's blessed Buddha beads? Listening to the discussion of the old men, someone in the crowd who didn't know what was going on muttered suspiciously. When Shi Boyi heard that, he immediately said solemnly, "Of course. Master Xian Jing is a truly accomplished monk and he doesn't consecrate people easily. It doesn't matter how much money you have to donate to the Bodhisattva golden body. You have to be sincere and most importantly, you have to be fated." These beads that had been consecrated were hard to come by. It's a priceless treasure. Although Xian Jing kept a low profile and not many people knew about him, the old and experienced people still knew about him. Hearing this, they were all in awe. It's indeed hard to find. It's said that the person in the province went there personally but didn't get one. Not to mention the sincerity, the most difficult thing is to find a fated person. It's illusory. Who knows what it means to be a fated person? It's too difficult, so it's even rarer. Otherwise, how could old she be so smug for so long? He's going to use it as a family heirloom. The most important thing is that it works. Old she was so sick before. No, why did old she suddenly mention this? Wasn't he looking at old Ning's string of beads? In the whispers, Shi Boyi stared at the string of beads that Ning Shi gave him for a long time before he finally returned it to Ning Jiyuan. Then he looked at Ning Shi meaningfully and said, "Little girl, you must have put in a lot of effort to bless this string of jade Buddha beads, right?" From what Shi Boyi said, the string of beads that Ning Shi gave to old Master Ning was also blessed by Xian Jing. How was this possible? Since it was so hard to find, how could Ning Shi, a wild girl from the countryside, get it? Ning Shi, after listening to so much, she didn't understand a single word. This old gentleman, was he sure he was praising her beads to the heavens? She said that she spent less than 150,000 to buy it from the Treasure Jade Pavilion, and she didn't even know who Great Master Xian Jing was. Would he believe her? Ying Fanglin whispered to Ning Shualuo with disdain, "It's just a bead consecrated by a monk. What's there to be surprised about? Priceless treasure?" Ning Shualuo bit her lips and shook her head sadly. "Fanglin, don't say that. Grandpa admires Master Xian Jing very much." This was also the reason why Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu firmly believed Long Fanin's words back then, but the old master didn't take it to heart. The old man didn't really trust Long Fanyin. Therefore, even if she was unwilling in her heart, she couldn't say it out loud because old Master Ning admired Master Xian Jing very much. Otherwise, wouldn't she be slapping old Master Ning in the face? Ying Fanglin couldn't stand it anymore when she saw Ning Shualuo trying to keep the peace. "Shualuo, why are you so easy to bully? I'll help you get justice." Ying Fanglin wanted to stand up for her. A gleam of success flashed across Ning Shualuo's eyes, and she made an even sadder expression. Ying Fanglin was the most brainless person and very easy to use. Chapter 563. For example, it wasn't appropriate for Zhuang Lingyu or Ning Yaohua to speak on this occasion. It was best for an outsider like Ying Fanglin to speak. As expected, Ying Fanglin immediately said, "Even if that master had blessed it, couldn't he have bought some good beads? It doesn't suit the old master's status to wear such a cheap thing." At this moment, Shi Boyi couldn't bear it anymore. He didn't want to argue with the younger generation, so he said directly, "Hey, little girl, isn't this string of beads good enough? If you must tell me the price, then I can tell you that this string is much more expensive than Shueluo's." "What? Shueluo's string cost 2 million. Ying Fanglin's eyes widened as she blurted out. Even Ning Shualuo, Jin Shenxian, and the others were shocked, not to mention Zhuang Lingyu and Ning Yaohua. Their first reaction was that it was impossible. Where did she get so much money from? Shi Boyi explained with certainty, "Shueluo's string is also of the highest quality, the old pit glass type. What's even rarer is that all these beads were taken from the same stone, and the color is very even and complete. Naturally, it's more expensive than that string. Ying Fanglin frowned. Elder Shi, are you seeing things? Before Shi Boyi's expression changed, Ning Jiyuan couldn't help but say unhappily, little girl, don't talk nonsense. How could Elder Shi be wrong? Xue Luo's is indeed more expensive. He didn't say it because he didn't want to embarrass Ning Xueluo, who knew that these ignorant little girls would keep talking nonsense, so he had to explain. Even Elder Ning spoke up. This time, everyone had to believe it no matter how much they didn't want to believe it. I really didn't expect this adopted daughter's gift to be more expensive than Miss Ning's. This is really a big blunder. It's really embarrassing. The same gift, but the adopted daughter's gift is better than hers in every way. TSK, looks like we've underestimated this country girl. It's been 5 years, and she's amazing. Actually, I wanted to ask just now. Is this really the country girl from back then? If you didn't tell me, I almost didn't recognize her. She's quite beautiful now. Isn't that right? Back then, no matter how beautiful she was still timid and couldn't go on stage. Now, she has the aura of a rich young lady. Ning Xueluo's expression changed completely. Not only was Ning Xi's bracelet blessed by Master Shen Jing, but it was also more expensive than hers. How was this possible? Didn't the female artists she chatted with last time see Ning Xi buy a string of Buddha beads worth more than 100,000 yuan with their own eyes? What exactly went wrong? Damn it, she had spent so much effort to set up this scene, but in the end, the one who was humiliated was actually herself. Whether it was her sincerity or her value, she had completely lost. She had even let Ning Xi steal the limelight. Shi Boyi patted Ning Jiyuan and sighed, "Hey, Jiyuan, you're really lucky. No wonder you want to adopt this girl. She is indeed a good child with filial piety. Most importantly, to be able to receive Master Shen Jing's blessing. What a blessing. By the way, Jiyuan, how old is your granddaughter? What is your zodiac sign? She should be around the same age as my grandson, right?" Ning Jiyuan was fondly stroking the string of Buddha beads. When he heard this, he immediately revealed a vigilant expression. "Old man, what are you trying to do? You even have designs on my granddaughter." Chapter 564. What adoption? She was his granddaughter. Old man, how can you call that a scheme? My grandson is handsome and filial. If it weren't for the fact that this little girl looks as good as my grandson, I wouldn't be willing to accept her. Humph, so you know what my granddaughter looks like. How can an ordinary boy be worthy of her? Show me your grandson's photo first. She had seen Shi Boyi's grandson, but that was several years ago. Who knew if he had grown crooked or not? Fine. I'm afraid you'll scheme against my grandson if you see it. Ning Xi, why did the topic suddenly go in that direction? Were all the old people's brains so jumpy? Probably not, but when the old people gathered together, there was an 80% chance that they would end up talking about this topic. No, that wasn't the point. The point was, how could her jade Buddha bracelet, which was worth 150,000 yuan with a 20% discount, become a priceless treasure that Master Shen Jing had blessed for more than 2 million yuan? Treasure Pavilion, the shop assistant who suddenly changed her attitude, she seemed to understand something. Could it be, what do you think, old Ning? Isn't he a good-looking man? Shi Boyi looked smug. Ning Jiyuan looked at the handsome and elegant man in the photo and his eyes lit up, but he still didn't say anything. Photos can be photoshopped. I can't believe it. Shi Boyi was so angry that he simply said, "Hey, you old man, since you don't believe it, I'll call him out next time and bring him to you." Okay. That's more like it. Just when Ning Xi was in a daze, she was inexplicably set up for a blind date. What's going on? Grandpa, calm down. Unfortunately, the two old people were already talking about the details of their meeting and couldn't hear her at all. Seeing Ning Xi's dumbfounded look, Ning Tianxin laughed. In fact, Mr. Xi's grandson is quite a good person. You can meet him. Ning Xi held her forehead and said, "I'm not in the mood for that now." Hearing this, Ning Tianxin looked a little worried. "Xiaoxi, Are you still worried about Su Yang? Speak of the devil. At this moment, a servant ran in happily and reported, Master, our son-in-law is here. Everyone's gaze immediately turned towards the door. Son-in-law? Who is it? Who else could it be? Ning Xueluo is the only young lady of the Ning family. Naturally, it's the young master of the Su family, Su Yang. As he spoke, everyone saw a man dressed in a black suit walk straight in from the door. Behind the man was a person who looked like an assistant, holding a rectangular box in his hand. Seeing the person who came, Ying Fanglin pushed the person beside her excitedly. Xueluo, your husband is here, hurry up and go. Don't talk nonsense, not yet. Ning Xueluo's heartbeat quickened when she saw the handsome and charming man in front of her. The unhappiness she felt because of the gift was immediately forgotten. Jin Xianxian also teased, you've already agreed to his proposal, aren't you? Ying Fanglin didn't even blink. Oh my god, your Su Yang is getting more and more handsome. Ning Xueluo's face flushed. She scolded them for a while and then walked gracefully towards Su Yang. Brother Yang, you're here. Chapter 565. En. Su Yang gently held the girl's slender hand. The two of them looked at each other and smiled, their eyes filled with affection for each other. Then, they walked toward Ning Jiyuan together. The two of them, one in a black suit and the other in a white dress, were a perfect match and instantly became the focus of everyone's attention. Zhuang Lingyu and Ning Yaohua both revealed extremely gratified expressions. Elder Ning was naturally very satisfied with Su Yang, his grandson-in-law, and said with a kind expression, Su Yang is here. Back then, because of Ning Shi's identity, the Su family didn't allow her to date Su Yang. Later, although she returned to the Ning family didn't disclose her identity, so Ning Shi and Su Yang had been dating secretly. When she was pregnant and couldn't hide it anymore, she told her family about her relationship with Su Yang. At that time, Su Yang had lost contact with her abroad. Zhuang Lingyu didn't easily believe Ning Shi's words. She ordered her to stay at home and not to go anywhere. Before Su Yang came back, no one was allowed to find out that she was pregnant before marriage. Therefore, even the old man didn't know that Ning Shi was pregnant with a child. At that time, Ning's international wasn't very stable, and Grandpa Ning didn't spend much time at home. He only knew that Ning Shi went abroad to study after a serious illness, and Su Yang, who often came to visit, began to date Ning Xueluo. Grandpa, happy birthday. Su Yang took the rectangular gift box from his assistant and handed it over with both hands. The old man smiled and nodded. Good boy. Su Yang gave the old man a painting by a famous calligrapher, which was priceless. Not to mention Ning Shi's jade bead bracelet, all the gifts in the hall were inferior to his. All the guests in the room were astonished when they saw this. The Su family is really generous. Even a random birthday gift is an antique. With the Su family's current power, they can easily find a lady with a better family background. Why did they choose Ning Xueluo? You probably don't know about this. It is said that Master Long personally calculated the 8 characters of the Ning family's eldest young lady. He said that she would bring prosperity to her husband and family. Many people came to propose marriage. Unfortunately, eldest young lady Ning had already been betrothed to the Su family. Aya, I know Master Long. I heard it's very powerful. Actually, I wanted to ask just now who is this Master Shen Jing that they have been talking about? I've never even heard of it, okay? Isn't Long Fanyin the most famous person in the circle now? Of course it's Long Fanyin. It's just that the old man still believes in those eminent monks from famous temples more. In fact, their thinking is too old-fashioned. The real experts are all among the common people. Seeing Su Yang, Ning Qianxin became nervous. She was meticulous and had discovered the relationship between Ning Shi and Su Yang years ago. She was worried that Ning Shi would be upset when she saw Su Yang. Just as she was about to comfort Ning Shi, Su Yang and Ning Xueluo were already walking towards them. Su Yang looked at Ning Shi and smiled. Xiaoxi, you're here too. Grandpa will be very happy. Ning Shi nodded slightly, her expression unreadable. How have you been recently? Su Yang asked with concern. It's all right. Xiaoxi, When are you free? Let's get together. Su Yang was about to say something when Zhuang Lingyu hurriedly walked towards them. Seeing Ningxi talking to Su Yang, Zhuang Lingyu urged, Shui Luo, Su Yang, I've been looking for you everywhere. Why are you here? Go and greet the guest. Got it, Mom. Sister, please excuse us. Ningxi Luo glanced at Ningxi out of the corner of her eye. Because of Zhuang Lingyu's protection, she showed a very proud look. Chapter 566. The banquet hall was bustling with noise and excitement. There were many guests, some of whom Ningxi knew. Ningxi Luo was chatting with Li Leiling, whom she had met at the audition in Luo City. Next to her was her mother, Guo Hui, the CEO of Lingtian Apparel. Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu were entertaining her warmly. As more and more guests came in, almost all of them chatted happily with Ningxi Luo. The guests looked at Ningxi Luo differently. This Miss Ning is so capable. She has such a wide network at such a young age. Alas, it's infuriating to compare with others. My good-for-nothing son always wants to be a star, but he doesn't even have a chance after spending so much money on it. He's not like her. He's doing business and running a company. Outside the door, a servant who was in charge of welcoming guests suddenly stumbled over. Eldest young master, eldest young mistress, outside. Ning Yaohua pulled a long face. What's going on outside? Why are you so flustered? The servant's face was full of anxiety. No. Master, there's an important guest outside. An important guest. Ning Yaohua was still displeased. What important guest? Why are you so flustered? With the Ning family's current status, they didn't have to be so nervous even if it was an important guest. In the corner, Ningxi looked at the servant, who looked as if she had seen a ghost. She was curious. What did Ningxi Luo do this time? The helper explained incoherently, just now, a car suddenly stopped at the entrance, but the people in the car didn't get out immediately. They just stayed there. I didn't pay much attention at first, but the car looked very expensive. I subconsciously looked at the license plate and realized that it seemed to be the Lu family's car. Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu's expressions changed. What? The Lu family? Which Lu family? The servant stuttered. Lu Group. Phut. Ningxi spat out a mouthful of juice. What? Lu Enterprises? Could it be Lu Tingxiao? No way. How could the devil come here? Well, Sister Xin, I'll go out and make a call. Ningxi was still worried. Finally, she went out and secretly called Lu Tingxiao. The phone only rang once before it was picked up. Then, the man's deep voice sounded, hello. The other end of the phone was very quiet, and he couldn't tell where the background was. Ningxi swallowed and asked, hey, Lu Tingxiao, where are you now? Lu Tingxiao, the Ning family's front door. Ningxi was speechless. Cough. Damn it. It really is you. Why are you here? Lu Tingxiao said, Xiaobao asked for you when you didn't come back. Hearing Xiaobao, Ningxi's heart immediately softened. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't expect to be delayed for so long. But I should be finished here soon. I'll go back as soon as possible. Lu Tingxiao, okay, we'll wait for you. Ningxi, what she meant was, for him to take Xiaobao back first. What if there was another delay and she couldn't get away so quickly? She was just thinking about how to persuade them not to wait for her when there was a sound from the other end of the phone. It seemed to be a different person. Then, she heard a dying voice. Sister-in-law, I've been waiting for you for so long that I'm going to freeze into an ice cube. When are you going to finish? Hurry up, okay Tilda. Chapter 567. Lu Jingli was here too? Ningxi was completely speechless. Why did 1, 2, and 3 of them all come here? While Ningxi was on the phone with Lu Tingxiao, Ning Yaohua, Zhuang Lingyu, and Ning Yaobang had already gone to the entrance to receive the guest. As the commotion was rather loud, some guests inevitably noticed it. They looked out and asked suspiciously, who's here? What a big scene. Ning Yaohua even went out to receive them personally. Ning Yarobang also rushed out to receive them. I heard some people say they're from the Lu family. The Lu family? Heh, you must be joking. This was like saying that the emperor suddenly came to a local official's house for a meal. Wasn't this a fantasy? Of course I don't think it's possible, but I heard the servants from the Ning family say that there's a car with the Lu family's number plate parked outside. Did you see wrongly? I don't think so. Although it's the Lu family's car, they didn't say that the heads of the family would come personally. It's impossible no matter how prestigious they are. Maybe the Ning family really has some connections with the Lu family, and their higher-ups told their servants to come to the old master's birthday banquet to give him a gift. It's not impossible, right? Now that you mention it, it's indeed possible. If they have connections with the Lu family, the Ning family is really something. What the hell? What kind of luck has the Ning family had these years? Could it be that Master Long's divination for Miss Ning was real? At the entrance of the Ning family. Where is she? Ning Yaohua asked the greeter anxiously. In the car. The greeter wiped his sweat and replied with a trembling voice. Why hasn't she alighted? I don't know either. There hasn't been any movement since the car stop. Ning Yaohua thought for a moment and said, forget it. It's inevitable that the people sent by the Lu family are a little arrogant. I'll go invite her personally. Second bro, you better watch out later, don't talk nonsense. Ning Yarobang was immediately displeased. What do you mean by that? Can't I even speak? Look at the situation now. I'm not in the mood to quarrel with you. You'd better behave yourself. Otherwise, if you offend an esteemed guest, you and I won't have a good time. Ning Yaohua coldly berated. Ning Yarobang also knew that this matter was of great importance. With an embarrassed expression, he said, I know. I won't say anything, okay? So, Ning Yaohua, Zhuang Lingyu, Ning Yarobang, and a few servants walked straight to the black Maybach with their backs straight. The back window of the car was open a crack, so they could definitely hear the people outside. Ning Yaohua warmly said, Honored guests have come to visit. This Ning has not gone out to greet you. I hope you can forgive me. 1 second passed, 2 seconds passed, 3 seconds passed. Ning Yaohua's face was almost stiff from smiling, but there was not the slightest movement inside. Could it be that he did not hear it? Ning Yaohua coughed lightly and continued, You must be tired from the long journey. Would you like to come in and have a drink? There was still no sound. Ning Yaohua's face darkened. He lowered his voice and asked a servant behind him, Are you sure there's someone in the car? Of course there is. No one has gotten out of the car since it arrived. The person must be inside. The servant replied with certainty. Ning Yaohua's face was unusually grave when he heard that. What was going on? Why didn't the person come out? He had even come to greet them personally. Was there anything that he did wrong? Chapter 568. Zhuang Lingyu seemed to have thought of something and pulled Ning Yaohua over. Yaohua, come here. What's wrong? Say, do you think the Lu family, are they here for our Shueluo? Zhuang Lingyu probed. Shueluo? Yeah. Aren't many guests here for Shueluo? Some of them are even Shueluo's fans. Shueluo's studio has been developing so well. So, Ning Yaohua's face lit up. You're right. But why didn't Shueluo tell me about it? We'll know when we ask her later. I'll call Shueluo over now. All right. Go. Ning Yaohua urged. The few of them retreated to the door. Soon, Ning Shueluo came out. Dad, Mom, what's wrong? Why did you call me out in such a hurry? Ning Yaohua looked at her seriously. Shueluo, tell me honestly. Do you know anyone from the Lu group? Ning Shueluo pondered. Lu group? Yes. Ning Yaohua looked nervous. I don't think so. Ning Shueluo replied without hesitation. She wanted to, but no matter how capable she was, it was impossible for her to be related to the Lu group. Ning Yaohua looked fearfully in the direction of the car and said in a low voice, Shueluo, think about it carefully. Right now, the Lu family's car is parked outside our house. What? Ning Xueluo was startled when she heard that. She looked at the car and tried to recall what had happened. Have you thought about it, Xueluo? Have you met anyone from the Lu group recently? Zhuang Lingyu reminded her anxiously. After a while, Ning Xueluo's eyes finally lit up. She hurriedly said, Mom, now that you mention it, I seem to recall that I met Lu Tingxiao's assistant, Cheng Feng, at a cocktail party a few days ago. He asked me about history. Zhuang Lingyu was overjoyed. Aya, you kid. Why didn't you tell us about such a big thing earlier? Ning Xueluo said shyly. At that time, he just casually asked a few questions, and didn't say anything else. How? How am I supposed to explain this? Ning Yaohua was surprised and happy at the same time. Xueluo, you are still too naive. Their special assistant came to you personally to inquire about the news. Obviously, the higher-ups are interested in your studio. It is very likely that they want to cooperate with you. No wonder the old master would send someone over for his birthday banquet. Let's go, follow me to welcome our esteemed guest. The more Ning Xueluo listened, the more she felt that it was possible. She immediately felt a surge of emotions and suppressed her rapid heartbeat. Yes, father. Thus, the family of three walked to the car again. Because the window wasn't wide open, they couldn't see the situation inside clearly. They could only vaguely see that there was indeed someone sitting inside. Ning Xueluo took a deep breath and said, Are you Mr. Cheng? I didn't know you were coming, and I didn't treat you well. I'm really sorry. Thank you for making this trip. Ning Xueluo continued to say nice words. However, it was as if there was no one in the car. It was quiet. The three of them looked at each other. What did this mean? Did they use his house as a parking lot? Did they come all the way here just to park their car? Or was it because the scenery here was good? These people's minds were too strange. Chapter 569. On the other hand, Ning Shi went to say goodbye to Grandpa Shun after finishing her cake because Lu Tingxiao and Little Bun had arrived. Grandpa, it's getting late. I'm leaving. This time, Grandpa Ning had no excuse to keep her. He held her hand reluctantly. Remember to come back often. Of course. Ning Shi nodded. You only know how to coax me. I don't know when you'll come back next time. Go ahead. It's getting late. I'll get a driver to send you. It's okay, Grandpa. I have a friend who's coming to pick me up. All right. Be careful on the way. Okay. Bye, Grandpa. After saying goodbye to Grandpa and Ning Tianxin, Ning Shi ran out of the door. Oh, it's time to rub the buns tilde of course. The buns tilde however, she bumped into Ning Yaohua, Zhuang Lingyu, and Ning Xueluo at the door. When Ning Xueluo saw her, she immediately greeted her with concern. Sister, are you leaving? Yes. Ning Shi replied impatiently. Little Bun was right in front of her, but she was blocked by others. How could she be happy? Sister, you can't get a taxi here at night. Why don't you wait for a while? When the banquet is over, I'll ask Brother Yang to send you. Ning Xueluo said that because she knew that even if she said that, someone would not allow it. Sure enough, Zhuang Lingyu tugged at Ning Xueluo and said in a low voice, Xueluo, you silly girl. Why are you so careless? Mom, it's too late now. I can't get a taxi here. It's too dangerous for me to go alone. Zhuang Lingyu signaled Ning Xueluo to stop talking. Then she walked up to Ning Shi and stared at her unkindly. She questioned her without saying a word. Ning Shi, what do you want? At this moment, Ning Shi was not in a hurry to leave. She crossed her arms, twitched the corner of her mouth, and asked unhurriedly, What does Madam Ning think I want to do? Zhuang Lingyu snorted. She looked as if she had seen through her. You just want the family fortune and money, don't you? I thought you had a backbone. It's not that you don't want to enter. You're just too ambitious to enter the head office. Ning Shi raised an eyebrow. I want to enter the head office. Don't tell me you didn't think about it. Why are you trying so hard to please your grandpa? You don't want to learn the good stuff, but you learn all sorts of unorthodox things. You want to come back now that you know it's not easy outside. Let me tell you. At this moment, the door of the Maybach not far away suddenly opened slowly. Zhuang Lingyu, who was still reprimanding Ningxi, noticed that the car door was opened and immediately forgot about Ningxi. She even pushed Ningxi to the back and pulled Ning Xueluo forward, saying, "It seems that Assistant Cheng got off the car. Xueluo, hurry up." Ning Yaohua's face was also filled with excitement. What made him even more excited was that the person who alighted from the car wasn't Cheng Feng. It was actually the Lu family's second young master, Lu Jingli. Unlike the elusive Lu Tingxiao, Lu Jingli was usually very high profile. His face was too famous, so there was no way he would mistake him for someone else. Second young master Lu came in person. It was such an honor. He thought of how envious the guests would be when they saw Lu Jingli. He thought of his father's shock and Ning Yarobang's frustration. He was so excited that his heart was trembling. Chapter 570. Ning Xueluo was completely dumbfounded. She thought that even if someone from the Lu group came, it would at most be an assistant. If it weren't for the fact that this car was Lu Tingxiao's car, she wouldn't have dared to think that it was even Lu Tingxiao's assistant. After all, Cheng Feng was one of Lu Tingxiao's most trusted confidants. His status in the Lu group was very high. He wouldn't come out personally for ordinary things. He would just send one of his subordinates to run errands. So, she never thought that it would be Lu Tingxiao's biological brother, Lu Jingli, who came to visit. Seeing the admiration in Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu's eyes when they looked at her, Ning Xueluo's chest expanded. Her vanity was unprecedentedly satisfied. She excitedly walked toward Lu Jingli. Second young master, Ning Yaohua finally calmed himself down with great difficulty. He put on the air of a chairman of a company and walked steadily toward Lu Jingli. Second young master Lu has come from afar. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you. Ning Yaohua was halfway through his sentence, his hand still suspended in midair. Lu Jingli, who was dressed in a flashy blue suit, ignored the three of them and walked past them. His handsome face was filled with tears. Sister-in-law, as soon as he said a word, Ningxi's expression changed. Her eyes were like small flying knives, shooting 3 knives at him. Lu Jingli was so scared that he almost blurted out sister-in-law. Lu Jingli shrank his neck and looked even more aggrieved. He said weakly, "Little 1111, you're finally out. I've been waiting for you. I'm so hungry. Hurry up and get in the car. You've made the boss wait for so long. Do you want to quit your job?" Lu Jingli hurriedly switched to boss mode, although this switch was really not dignified at all. Ningxi heaved a sigh of relief. This blabbermouth bastard, she almost had a heart attack because of him. How could he shout without caring about the occasion? Unfortunately, this idiot was her superior. She couldn't hit or scold him, so she had to suppress her anger in her heart. Lu Jingli didn't care at all. He greeted her with a smile. "Aya, are you flattered that the boss came to pick you up personally?" It's fine. Anyway, it's on the way. Get in the car. Hurry, hurry, hurry." Tilda while speaking, Lu Jingli seemed to have felt 2 sharp eyes behind him whipping his soul and urging him, so he quickly finished speaking, and then like a robber, he directly pulled Ningxi into the car and slammed the door shut in one go. Very good. Done. The mission was finally complete. He had finally stuffed the demon-suppressing treasure that was used to suppress the Demon Kings and Big Demon Kings. Lu Jingli didn't care how dumbfounded the 3 people behind him were. He adjusted his collar, opened the driver's door, stepped on the gas, and the black car suddenly sped away. Behind them, Ning Yaohua, Zhuang Lingyu, and Ning Xueluo's faces were still filled with excitement. They stared at the direction in which the car left, their faces filled with disbelief. They took turns to invite the person who refused to come. The second son of Lu Corporation, Lu Jingli, personally came to visit. She actually came to pick up Ningxi? How could this be possible? Moreover, although Lu Jingli's words seemed to be reproaching her, his tone was clearly very familiar, like a joke between friends. It could be seen that the two had a very good relationship. Zhuang Lingyu's face was the ugliest. She was just scolding Ningxi, saying that she was trying to take advantage of the company because she was not doing well. In the end, she actually found herself with such a person. Chapter 571. Ning Yaohua's shock was no less than his wife's. He felt even more remorseful and covetous. He had tried so hard but failed to establish any connection with the Lu family. Who knew that this good-for-nothing daughter of his was friends with Lu Jingli? Damn it, what a mistake. How could he forget? Ningxi had signed with Shengshe Entertainment, and it was said that Lu Jingli had poached her personally. But he had always thought that it was just a business game, and Ningxi was just a pawn. How could he have known that they were friends? Shui Luo, is Ningxi close to second young Master Lu? Ning Yaohua asked. Ning Shuiluo's nails dug into her palms as she stared in the direction of Ningxi's departure. She didn't react until Ning Yaohua asked her. I'm not sure, Dad. You know second young Master Lu's personality. He's not as unapproachable as Lu Tingxiao, and he always gets along well with the employees in his company. He poached Ningxi personally, and she helped him defeat Xing Hui. She's a hero, so it's understandable that they are friends. Ning Yaohua nodded. I see. Sigh, if I can get in touch with Lu Jingli, he'll be much more useful than a mere assistant like Cheng Feng. Ning Shuiluo's face stiffened, and she said awkwardly, It'd be great if we can get in touch with each other, but Dad, you know that my sister has a deep misunderstanding about our family. How about I beg her? Zhuang Lingyu couldn't stand it anymore. Beg. Lu Jingli had friends all over the world. He had one today and another tomorrow. How long would he remember her? The company has so many new employees, and he might forget about her one day. I'm just picking her up on the way. Ning Yaohua's eyes suddenly lit up. Shui Luo, do you think Lu Jingli will do something to Ningxi? Ning Shuiluo knew what Ning Yaohua was thinking. In fact, she had thought of it too, but she immediately denied it. Dad, that doesn't seem possible. Everyone in the industry knows that Lu Jingli never messes with female artists from his own company. Ning Yaohua sighed. He knew that their relationship didn't seem that way, but he still didn't want to give up. Anything related to the Lu family was a huge resource, not to mention the second-in-command of the Lu group, Lu Jingli, his daughter, whom he had always regarded as a burden, might still have some value. When the three of them returned to the banquet hall, many people immediately asked them if they were from the Lu clan, causing their expressions to turn ugly. He could only say that it was a mistake. In order to save face, he even made up an excuse, saying that it was a relative with the surname Lu who came to visit, not the Lu family of the Lu group. In the car, Ningxi held little Bun in her arms, who was so sleepy that his eyes almost couldn't open. Her heart ached for him. As she coaxed him to sleep, she said, I told you it would be very late. Why didn't you wait for me at home? Lu Jingli looked bitter and resentful. He glanced at his brother and then poked his head out to complain to Ningxi in a low voice. Haha, I want to, but do you think they can wait? It had only been 5 minutes since the 2 hours had passed, and the two devils were already restless. My brother called you, but you didn't reply. You looked so scary. Then you texted me to say that you would be back later, and my brother couldn't sit still anymore. He was afraid that you would be bullied there, and little Bun started to torture me. Left with no choice, I could only drive them out and wait for them here. Okay, I finally got closer to you, and the two of them were a little more peaceful. But when I saw you coming out, and you were blocked, I had no choice but to go down and snatch them myself. Chapter 572. Upon hearing this, Ningxi glanced at little Bun, who was sleeping soundly in her arms, and then at the Demon King, who was working beside her. The great Demon King looked down at the documents in his hands with an incomparably calm expression, as if he had only come to accompany little Steamed Bun. It was understandable that little Steamed Bun would be anxious, but the great Demon King was actually so agitated over such a small matter. It was really hard to imagine. Wasn't Lu Jingli exaggerating? Sensing the girl's gaze on him, Lu Tingxiao looked up from the pile of documents and asked, Are you okay? Ningxi snapped out of her trance and said hurriedly, I'm fine. I'm just going home. Lu Tingxiao looked at Ningxi's relaxed expression and obviously didn't believe her, but he didn't say anything. Oh, right. Lu Tingxiao, I have something to ask you. Ningxi suddenly remembered something. Ningxi frowned and said, Here's the thing. I bought a jade bead bracelet in your treasure pavilion as a gift for my grandpa. I bought it at a 20% discount and only spent 120,000 yuan. Why did someone say this bracelet was worth more than 2 million yuan and was blessed by an eminent monk when I gave it to my grandpa as a gift? Ningxi had said so much, but Lu Tingxiao only replied with 2 words, really? Ningxi narrowed her eyes and puffed up her cheeks. Was he not admitting that he had done it? He was still pretending. Didn't you ask the shop assistant to do it? Ningxi asked directly. Lu Tingxiao replied expressionlessly, I was overseas on a business trip. Ningxi was stunned. She blinked and then blinked again and again, dumbfounded. Right. You were in Philadelphia on a business trip. Since he was overseas, how could he have known what had happened and gotten someone to help her out of trouble? That's weird. What's going on? That old grandpa seems to be quite powerful. I didn't see wrongly. Hey, Lu Tingxiao, your shop assistant seems to have sold the wrong thing. As the boss, aren't you going to do anything about it? Ningxi mumbled. Lu Tingxiao nodded. Yeah. I'll reward him later. Ningxi was speechless. Lu Jingli, I'm suddenly not hungry anymore. He was full of dog food, Ningxi completely gave up arguing with Lu Tingxiao. At this moment, she had something more annoying. She said with a headache, by the way, because of this jade string, I was arranged to go on a blind date for no reason. What? Lu Jingli suddenly tensed up. If he had a tail behind him, it would be wagging excitedly and asking, Little 1111, what blind date? What blind date? Blind date. Lu Tingxiao's calm face began to waver. Ningxi held her chin and sighed with great melancholy. At that time, there was a very powerful old grandpa who recognized the origin of my jade string because he also had a consecrated one. It was given to him by his grandson. He said that his grandson and I were destined to be together. After chatting with my grandpa for a long time, he inexplicably wanted to introduce his grandson to me. Then my grandpa saw his grandson's photo and thought that he looked good, so he agreed. They even arranged a time to meet. My grandpa even told me about this before I left. Lu Jingli, who was standing aside, was stunned. Fuck. Is that even possible? Little 1111, are you really going to go? How could he say this? Sister-in-law had only gone out for a trip. How could his brother have a love rival as soon as she came back? It was too cruel. Chapter 573. Lu Jingli was horrified and nervously looked at Ningxi from the rearview mirror. 1111, you are more unruly than me. Surely you won't go on a blind date, which is against your nature, right? The corner of Ningxi's mouth twitched. Unruly, my ass. No matter how unruly I am. That was arranged for me by my grandfather, okay? When I went back this time, I found that his health was much worse than before, and his hair was all white. Lu Jingli's heart skipped a beat. He was doomed. From what she said, it seemed that his brother was doomed. 1111, there are many ways to express your filial piety. Don't take it too hard. Are you really going to go? Lu Jingli asked anxiously. After Lu Jingli asked, he subconsciously looked at his brother from the rearview mirror. He had thought that his brother would definitely be frozen and snowy, but he didn't expect that he would be so quiet and unresponsive. Seeing his reaction, Lu Jingli was even more afraid. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao was really quiet, but this was not true calmness. Instead, it was like a dead silence after being suppressed to the extreme. He wanted to appear in front of her openly, wanted to protect her personally, wanted to kiss her in front of everyone, even when she was dressed in women's clothes. He wanted to tell everyone that this person was his, and he wanted to forbid anyone from touching her. However, now he didn't even have the right to pursue her openly, let alone declare his sovereignty. His identity was special, and now Ningxi was in the critical period of her career. If she got involved with him, all her efforts would be in vain. At that time, no matter how hard she worked, all her success would be considered because of his support. He liked the way she worked hard for her dream and didn't want to ruin everything for her because of his selfishness. Ningxi was wondering how to deal with this matter in a way that satisfied both sides, when she inadvertently met Lu Tingxiao's eyes. What a pair of eyes! They were obviously cold and alienated, as if nothing in the world could enter his world, but at a glance, she could see the hidden heat in the depths of his eyes, which was as hot as volcanic magma that almost burned her to ashes. The car suddenly became quiet. Lu Jingli looked at his brother and then at Ningxi. His handsome face suddenly darkened. Hey, you two, when you stare at each other affectionately, can you pay attention to the other people in the car? After a moment, Lu Jingli said, okay, I was wrong, I am not a human. Continue to ignore me, woof, woof, Pearl River Imperial View. After sending Ningxi and Little Bun downstairs, Lu Jingli didn't leave but looked at Ningxi pitifully. Sister-in-law, I'm so hungry. I want to eat your hot pot. Holding Xiao Baozi, Ningxi narrowed her eyes and said coldly, what did you call me? She. Lu Jingli immediately. Ningxi was satisfied. Didn't you have dinner tonight? As soon as I got off work, I went straight to your place and ate some snacks in the car. Brother didn't even have a meal. Lu Jingli continued to act pitiful. He hadn't found out how Ningxi was going to deal with the blind date. He couldn't leave, or he wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. Ningxi looked helpless. Fortunately, she had taken Xiaobao to eat before she sent him there. Otherwise, he would have starved together. She knew that it was unreliable to rely on a man to take care of a child. Ningxi was so shocked that she didn't dare to look into Lu Tingxiao's eyes. She said, okay, let's go upstairs together. I'm a little hungry. Chapter 574. When passing by the front desk, Ningxi looked bitter and resentful. She muttered indignantly, you're so annoying, what's wrong? Lu Jingli asked casually. Ningxi said with a pained expression, the receptionist of our apartment used to be a super cute girl. I gave her a box of lipstick on the first day she came here. Later, we got along very well and often gossiped with me. Later, I don't know which crazy leader replaced the receptionist with a rough uncle. Oh, I'm so angry. Give me back my cute girl. Ah. Lu Jingli's first reaction was to turn his head and look at his brother, who looked extremely calm as if he had not done anything bad at all. Haha, who did it? Was it necessary to ask? His brother's rivals in love were really everywhere. He was busy enough dealing with his rivals in love every day. After going upstairs and getting out of the elevator, Ningxi was walking in the direction of her own door. When she just reached the corner, she suddenly stopped and stepped back with Xiaobao in her arms. 1111, what's wrong with you? You look like you've seen a ghost. Lu Jingli behind her was puzzled. Lu Tingxiao had already seen someone at Ningxi's door from the corner of his eye and couldn't help but frown slightly. Ningxi sighed with a headache. Su Yang. What? Su Yang. Your first love. What happened to him? He's at my door. Lu Jingli's eyes immediately widened. Damn. What does he want to do at your door in the middle of the night? 1111, I'll help you beat him up. Ningxi rolled her eyes at Lu Jingli and turned to Lu Tingxiao. Help me carry Xiaobao. I'll deal with it soon. Lu Tingxiao nodded. Okay. Lu Jingli looked at his brother's gentle and virtuous face and the corner of his mouth twitched. You can really pretend to be a little white rabbit in front of your wife, but in fact, your heart is already full of blood. Su Yang was leaning against Ningxi's door with a cigarette between his fingers. He looked like he was lost in thought and no one knew what he was thinking. It was not until Ningxi had already walked in front of him that he noticed her and suddenly looked up. 1111, you're back. Ningxi nodded. Is the banquet over? Ian, I sent Shui Luo over and came to see you on the way. I thought you had already reached home. Did something happen on the way? Su Yang asked with concern. He did not know that Ningxi was picked up by Lu Jingli. No, there's a traffic jam. What can I do for you? Ningxi said perfunctorily. It was all because Lu Jingli only cared about gossiping with her and drove at a snail's pace. I was too busy at Biyuan just now. I didn't have time to talk to you properly. Su Yang looked at her, hesitating to speak. It's too late, and it's not convenient to invite you in. If you have something to say, just say it. Ningxi said. Su Yang hesitated for a while and finally said, "There's something I want to remind you. 1111, if you want to go back to the Ning family now, I'm afraid your identity will be a bit awkward." "Oh? How so?" Ning Shi raised her eyebrows slightly when she heard this and looked like she was humbly asking for advice. Under the dim light, the girl's bright, glass-like eyes were unbelievably beautiful. Su Yang's breathing stagnated, and his mind was almost taken away. For a moment, he forgot what he wanted to say, and only came back to his senses after being in a daze for a long time. Chapter 575. Su Yang's expression was a little awkward when he realized his gaffe. He coughed lightly and continued, "In the past 5 years, the structure and division of power in Ning's International have been fixed. In this case, if there is another competitor for the successor, the consequences will be unpredictable." Ning Shi took a playful look at the man in front of her and said calmly, "What if I want Ning's International Group?" Su Yang's gentle face darkened and he said seriously, "Xiaoxi, don't mess around. This involves too much. If you insist on getting involved in this mess, you will only get yourself hurt. You affect those people's interests. How can they let you go?" Ning Shi snorted. "Oh, those people's interests, whose interests are they?" He always pretended to be sorry and wanted to take care of her, but as soon as his interests were involved, he would change his attitude. Su Yang looked at Ning Shi's mocking eyes and felt a sting in his heart. He hurriedly said, "Xiaoxi, you misunderstood me. I'm not doing this for myself, and I don't care about the Ning family's property. I'm just afraid it will be difficult for me to choose between you and Xueluo." Ning Shi stretched herself and glanced at him. "What's so difficult about it? Do you have a second choice between Ning Xueluo and me?" Looking at the girl's slightly raised lips and the disdain in her eyes, Su Yang suddenly clenched his fists and his eyes gradually darkened. After a long while, he finally calmed down. He sighed softly and didn't dare to look at the girl's eyes. Even if it was 5 years ago, he would not hesitate to choose Xueluo, because he loved Xueluo. Love was selfish. Even if he knew Xueluo did something wrong, he still chose to protect her. But now, he didn't know what was going on with him. Since Ning Shi returned to China, his eyes had been following her involuntarily, and recently it was getting harder and harder to control this impulse. He had always been clear about what he wanted, and a woman like Ning Xueluo was the perfect partner in his ideal world. But why was it that his deep-rooted understanding was crumbling bit by bit? Even tonight, even if he wanted to avoid arousing suspicion, he shouldn't have come so late. But he still came. Because he wanted to see her, even if it was just to listen to her sarcastic remarks. Su Yang calmed himself down and softened his tone. 1111, what I said is for your own good. I hope you can think about it. If you need any help, feel free to contact me." He still wanted to say something, but found that there was nothing left to say between the two of them. His face was gloomy as he said, "It's too late. I won't disturb you anymore. Good night." At the same time, in the corner, Lu Jingli's eyes were shining. He could not help but say in a low voice, I, my sixth sense has caught a trace of an unusual aura. This Su Yang, the way he looks at little 1111 doesn't seem right." As soon as he finished speaking, the depression that Lu Tingxiao had been suppressing for a whole night suddenly burst forth. Lu Jingli was so scared that his hair stood on end. He wiped his sweat and muttered to himself, Hey, what's going on? Brother, are you suffering from a stroke? Why are you so unlucky? Love rivals come one after another, and I don't know what's going on, but I keep feeling uneasy. I keep feeling like something big is going to happen. I'm so scared. Chapter 576. After entering the house, Ning Shi first took Xiaobao to the bedroom to sleep, and then opened the refrigerator to find ingredients and base. Thanks to Xiaobao, she bought a lot of food after Xiaobao came. The refrigerator was full of all kinds of ingredients and seasonings, so it was not difficult to make a hot pot. Lu Tingxiao naturally took the vegetables from Ning Shi's hands and helped her wash them. Ning Shi glanced at him and rolled up his sleeves. Lu Jingli. Lu Jingli felt that he was too bright, so he stayed in the living room to watch TV. Soon, the dishes were ready. The hot pot base was bubbling and exuded a tempting aroma. Lu Jingli couldn't stand it anymore. He rushed over and looked at the pot base on the table. It was half clear and half red soup, and he was stunned. "Hey, 1111, did you make a yuanyang pot? Your brother can't eat spicy food." Ning, she answered casually while setting the bowl and chopsticks. "Oh tilde 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 tilde." Lu Jingli bit his chopsticks and his eyes darted around. "I say, little 1111, do you like my brother?" Cough, cough, cough. Ning, she choked on her saliva and almost bit her tongue. She looked at Lu Tingxiao in a panic and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? You are so nice to my brother." Lu Jingli muttered, "Are there any subordinates who don't please the boss? Can't you control your imagination for a bit? Next time you slander me for coveting the boss, I will beat you up." Ning, she immediately expressed her innocence, and then handed a pair of chopsticks to Lu Tingxiao. "Boss, don't listen to his nonsense. Heaven and earth can prove my sincerity to you. I absolutely have no bad intentions." Lu Tingxiao took the chopsticks and glanced at her. "Yes." Lu Jingli, "Phut." Ningxi, after eating for a while, Lu Jingli rubbed his half-full belly with satisfaction. He finally had the energy to gossip again. "Little 1111, can I ask you a question?" he asked. "What do you want to ask?" "Well, how do you feel about Su Yang?" Lu Tingxiao's hand that was serving Ning, she paused slightly. "What do you mean? Oh my God, do you still have feelings for him? Why do you want me to say it so clearly?" Ning, she rolled her eyes at him. "Do you think it's possible?" Lu Jingli bit his chopsticks. "Why not? Isn't the first love the most unforgettable and unforgettable?" After saying that, he gave his brother a meaningful look. Wasn't Ning she his brother's first love? Why did everyone think that she still had feelings for Su Yang? Ning Tianxin was like this, and so was Lu Jingli. Ning, she took a bite of the potato and said unhappily, "The world is so big and there are so many handsome guys out there. I'm not a little girl who didn't see the world. Do I have to hang on that tree all the time? I already have someone I like, okay." As soon as he finished speaking, not only Lu Jingli, but even Lu Tingxiao's back stiffened. Lu Jingli naturally wouldn't let go of this good opportunity to inquire about the situation. He immediately followed up on this topic and asked, "I think I've heard you mention it before. Who is the person you're talking about? What did that guy look like? Was he handsome? More handsome than yours truly? What kind of man can make brother she like him? Tell me, tell me, tell me." Looking at Lu Jingli's excited little face, Ning, she was speechless. "Let me think about it. Think. Lu Tingxiao sat there in silence. He suddenly didn't want to continue listening, but he couldn't leave, even though he knew the answer was a sharp knife. Chapter 577. Ning, she rubbed her chin and glanced at Lu Tingxiao out of the corner of her eye. She thought about it seriously and then answered, his powerful, domineering, talented, gentle, romantic, witty, brave, mature, and steady. He's unparalleled in 1,000 years. He's so good at strategizing that he outshines the moon, the flowers, the fish, and the geese. He's so beautiful that he's walking on colorful clouds. Lu Jingli, Lu Tingxiao. After a long while, Lu Jingli came back to his senses and the corners of his mouth twitched. "Are you sure you're talking about a human? He's even walking on colorful clouds. Do you have to be so dramatic?" Lu Tingxiao couldn't describe his feelings at the moment. Ningxi's description was a little exaggerated, but he knew how perfect that person was in her heart. "Humph, if you knew who he was, you wouldn't think I was exaggerating." Ningxi mumbled. Lu Jingli asked, "Then who is he?" Ningxi narrowed her eyes and stuffed a cream bun into Lu Jingli's mouth. "Are you trying to get information out of me? Save it." Lu Jingli swallowed the bun. "You're so stingy. Since you already have someone you like, do you still want to go on a blind date?" He couldn't get any information out of her, but he had to figure out the urgent matter at hand. Ningxi sighed. "I still have to go. I have to explain it to him. Otherwise, Wouldn't it be embarrassing for my grandpa if I just stood him up? Lu Tingxiao's expression softened. He had expected this answer, but the possessiveness in his bones overrode his rationality. Even though he knew, he still couldn't calm down. Who could accept his wife going on a blind date? The next day. During the day, Ningxi took Xiao Bao to the studio for a walk. In the evening, because she had an appointment with old Master Shi's grandson, she went to Lu Enterprises to send Xiao Bao over. Although it wasn't her first time going to the company, every time she went there, she would still get a lot of stares. All of them wanted to take off her mask to see who she was. She went upstairs and had just stepped out of the elevator when a young girl suddenly plucked up the courage to rush up to her. "Miss Su, I really like your movies. Can I have your autograph?" Ningxi raised her eyebrows. "Miss Su? Who? Could it be?" Ningxi quickly reacted. Did he think she was Su Yimo? Looking at the little girl's anxious and expectant expression, Ningxi really couldn't bear to refuse. In fact, she knew that the girl didn't really want her autograph. She was testing her identity. If she signed it, it would mean that she was Su Yimo. If she didn't sign it, it would mean that she wasn't. Just as she was thinking about what to do, Lu Tingxiao walked straight towards her. As soon as the little girl saw Lu Tingxiao, she ran away faster than a rabbit. Ningxi didn't see how she disappeared. Anyway, she disappeared in the blink of an eye. You couldn't blame the young lady for running away so quickly. Her boss was in a bad mood today. During the morning meeting, he scared a few department heads to tears. She was just a small secretary. In order to avoid being caught, she naturally had to hide as far away as possible. Seeing Xiao Bao in Ningxi's arms, Lu Tingxiao's face darkened. "You're an adult and you still want to carry me?" Xiao Bao buried his little head in Ningxi's shoulder and looked aggrieved. "Aunt Xiaoxi, Papa shouted at me you're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."